he steps down.
It's a strike against kidnapping, against hunger in the country, and we are sending a clear message to the president to respect the Constitution.
Earlier this week, transport unions and other workers went on a 2-day strike denouncing institutional violence and an alarming rise in kidnappings. Human rights groups say at least 1,000 people were kidnapped in 2020.
When someone is kidnapped, the person must go to the street and ask for Jovenel Moïse to give him security. That's the reason why we organized 2 days of lockout to show Jovenel Moïse that we can't accept this situation, But as soon as the lockout finish, the kidnapping restart quickly.
Haiti's opposition says it's time for Moïse to go. They say his mandate ends this Sunday. But Moïse disagrees. He says his 5-year term began when he was sworn in 2017, and that he still has 1 year in power. But members of the opposition say Moïse's term began in 2016 in the wake of chaotic elections. And while the political crisis deepens, Haiti's economy continues to deteriorate. Economists like Camille Charlemagne says urgent action is needed.
The amount of people going hungry in the country has doubled. It's gone from 2 million to 4 million people. The currency is devaluated, and there's an inflation rate close to 25%.
To complicate matters, legislative elections were postponed when parliamentary terms expired. This past year, President Moïse has been ruling Haiti by decree. The U.S. and the Organization of American States have urged new legislative elections to restore the balance of power. Moïse is proposing a referendum in April to reform the constitution.
Last week, we held a major meeting with all entities, including the UN, the Provisional Electoral Council, the Advisory Committee, the government, the police chief, the prime minister. We had a big talk about security issues, elections, and the referendum. We were clear with all these people on April 25th because it will be a victory date for us.
But the opposition says it's another excuse to hold on to power. And that's why they vow to continue pressuring the government on the streets. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera.
Okay, everybody, what's up? What's going on? Hope you guys are all good. Thank you guys for being here. So just waiting for people to come in. But yeah, today we're going to talk about Haiti. Basically what's going on in Haiti. And, just talk about Haiti because we don't talk about Haiti enough. And then we're going to talk about, is Africa really all that poor as people think it is? Because I think there's this misconception that Africa is extremely poor. As I mentioned before, Africa is not poor. Africa is rich. Africa has a lot of money. Yes, things are being mismanaged. People are doing some crazy things that cannot be denied. But is Africa poor? Definitely not. And that also goes with this conception of what you think money is, what you think richness is, right? If you live in a capitalist society, such as this one, wealth to you is you having money in your bank account. But in other places and in other parts of the world, wealth is not necessarily about how much money you have in a bank. Wealth is about like how much land you own. Because a lot of people here, you can say maybe they have money in their bank account or whatever, but they don't own the land that they're on. You know, over here, it's a pretty much credit society. Like you could you could have a lot of things over here, but do you actually own those things? Like a lot of people, the cell phones that they haven't paid it off. The car that they haven't paid it off. The house that they haven't paid it off, but they're here acting like they have something. So that's the illusion of over here, that you think you own a lot and you really don't. Like you really don't. So when people talk about, well, Africans are poor, okay, well, a lot of Africans, for instance, yeah, they might not have $5,000 in their bank account, but they have $5,000 worth of livestock. Well, you have to feed those cows, those goats, the whatever, you have to feed those animals. That's money. You have to take care of those animals. That's money. Those animals breed, and you have to find ways of either getting rid of those animals. All of that is money. So when people talk about, okay, well, I don't have $5,000. Well, I could have $3,000 worth of cows. Back home in Africa, I may not have my own house, but my grandfather, my great-grandfather built a house, and that house houses many people. It's a whole compound. It's on a big, huge plot of land, and it's a whole bunch of houses that are connected together. So even if someone from my family doesn't build a house, they still have a home. They still have a part of that house, which is something. So it's that whole idea that, you know, the West makes it seem like they're the only ones that have money and everyone else doesn't have money. And that's actually not true at all. That's not true at all. But you'll have people sitting here saying that they're poor, but their grandfather owns like hectares of land. Okay? All that land needs to do is be developed, but it's there. It exists. And as we know how Africa is advancing, it's not just Africa, the whole world is advancing. If you have, like, let's say you have 200 acres of land and you don't do anything, that's still an investment, because you can sell that land. As years and years and years and years go by, that land is actually going to become more and more and more and more valuable. So when people talk about, oh, well, Africans don't have money, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, because they're not out here, you know, running in thousands of dollars in credit card debt, thousands of dollars in what do you call it, college debt. You know, they're not running out here like that. So when people talk about, oh, Africa, our Africans are this, Africans are that, I don't know what you're talking about, because they're actually richer than a lot of these Europeans. Seriously. Their quality of life is way better. Now, yeah, going back to the Haitian thing, just before we come back to this whole African thing, what's going on in Haiti right now is apparently the Haitians are really upset with their president. There was an attempt to actually do a military takeover, which is called a coup d'etat. They wanted to take over the presidency because they want to kick him out of office, basically. So his argument was that he was in office for 4 years now, and in 2022 is when he's supposed to like stop his presidency. But the Haitians said, no, he was elected in 2015. So at this point, he's not supposed to be president anymore. Basically, it's kind of a misunderstanding. But the interesting part was that I think there was about 20 to 30 people who actually tried. They failed, but they tried to take the president's life. Like they tried to assassinate him. So these Haitians, they're not having it. They're really upset with their president. And I'll say this, because I've done a lot of research on Haiti. I kind of wish I knew more Haitians so that we could actually talk about this, because I'm just doing this off of hearsay. But apparently, the real issue in Haiti is not even the president. It's the country's not doing good at all. If we're just being honest and if we're being straight up and real, Haiti is not doing that good. And Haiti is not doing that good, especially for a country that got independence over 200 years ago. Haiti, the level that Haiti's supposed to be at right now, it's literally supposed to be at the same level as Spain, as France. So the fact that Haiti is facing all of these problems, it's really unfortunate. And I could kind of understand, why the Haitians want to remove that president, because that president isn't really helping the situation all that much. But I honestly think the situation of Haiti is beyond the president. Like, the situation of Haiti, it started way, way, way back before even they got their independence. Like, if you actually look at what Haiti did, and it's kind of sad because we don't talk about Haiti much. I don't know why. And when I say we, I mean the Black community, who apparently cares about Black people all over the world. They don't talk about Haiti a lot. It's like they only talk about the continent. Sometimes they talk about the Caribbean, but they completely ignore Haiti. And it's like Haiti was the first one that took this whole Pan-African thing in action. So how come the country that kind of started this whole Pan-African thing, nobody pays respect to that country? Like, that's not cool. That's not cool. Our brothers and sisters in Haiti, shout outs to everybody in the chat. I will, I'll look at the comments in a second. But say what you want about Haitians, say what you want about Caribbeans. I know some of my continental friends don't really like Caribbeans. That's cool. But can you deny what Haiti did? Can you sit here and really deny what Haiti did? Do you not understand that Haiti took a really big sacrifice by doing what they did? Haiti took a sacrifice. At the time that Haiti was independent, our ancestors were either colonized or they were slaves. There was no free Black country at that point. So when Haiti was out there and they were doing what they were doing, and all of the Obroni or Muzungu supremacists, they gave Haiti economic sanctions. They told their best friends in the European Union, even though it wasn't the European Union back then, but you know what I mean. They told their best friends, hey, don't do business with those Black people. Don't do business with those monkeys. That's what they told their friends. So nobody wanted to work with Haiti back then, still today, but especially back then. And it's sad because if you look in 2021, the support that I think some Black countries should give to Haiti, they still haven't given that support to Haiti. When that earthquake happened in Haiti, I forgot what year it was, but when that earthquake happened, there was no African country, there was no Caribbean country that gave Haiti support. There was no African country that gave Haiti money like, hey, brother and sister, hey, I'm sorry that you're going through this. Here, let me even just give you $1 million. Let me just at least give you $1 million. No country did that. So then what did Haiti do? Or I don't know if Haiti did this, but what did the Muzungu do? They decided to do that whole pray for Haiti, the Red Cross movement. Oh, let's organize funds to help Haiti. Let's do this, let's do that. And then like 5 years down the line, we realized that all those funds were mismanaged, that the money is gone. Nobody was accountable for that money. But this is the Red Cross. This is the Red Cross, an organization that supposedly helps people, But when it comes to helping, you know, a Black nation that went through an earthquake, they used Haiti like crazy to do all their concerts, to do their merchandise, to do all their online marketing. And in the end, what did they do with that money? So not only was Haiti taken advantage of by France, by Haiti, and then in the 1930s, the Americans, they took over Haiti. Like they went to Haiti and they tried to tell Haiti how to run their country because they were saying, oh, these Haitians don't know how to run their country. So Americans took it upon themselves to go to Haiti and to tell Haiti how to run their country. And ever since then, Haiti has had political issues. And I'm not blaming everything on the French and Americans, but a lot of it is to blame on the French and Americans and other Europeans. It's sad. I actually feel bad for Haiti. Because how the heck is Ghana, how the heck is Ghana and Nigeria making more than Haiti? What? But Haiti had 200-year head start? What happened? What happened? That doesn't make sense. Something is very wrong. Something is very wrong. And again, I'm blaming it on a whole bunch of people, but I'm also blaming it on Black countries that are not helping Haiti. Black countries that haven't shown their support for Haiti. You know, some people talk about, oh, the African Union is doing this, So you're telling me an organization is the one that's supposed to force you to care about your brother or sister? You didn't do that on your own? What? So you're telling me if the African Union didn't reach out to Haiti, then other African countries wouldn't reach out to Haiti? No, that's not right. I'm sorry. I cannot look past that. That's not right. That's not right. And that's the thing. Haiti has always been neglected. Nobody cares about Haiti. They act like they do, but they don't care about Haiti. You don't see them collaborating with Haiti. You don't see them reaching out to Haiti. You don't see them trying to talk to Haiti. They don't do that. So when, and I'm not necessarily talking about Haitians, I'm talking about the country, right? So when Haiti is going through something, or when Haiti is experiencing something, it's like they're experiencing it by themselves because nobody else is there to either show support or talk about it or just provide anything. And that's quite sad, actually. It's quite sad because even us, as I mentioned before, a lot of people don't talk about Haiti. Why is that? People talk about Jamaica more than they do about Haiti. And there's nothing wrong with talking about Jamaica more than Haiti, but it's a huge difference if you really think about it. And to add to this, I'll say that we've been conditioned to not really care about Haiti. Since the colonizers and all of these people don't care about Haiti, we've also been conditioned to not care about Haiti. That's really sad. I'll paint you guys an example. If you do a Google search, right? If you do a Google search and you search in Haitians, right? You see the pictures. They're pictures of people who either look sad, they look angry, they don't look all that good. And this is just Google. Not really nice pictures. It's kind of bland, boring, angry, like, wow. But then if you do the exact same thing, and you search any other nationality, obviously I don't have time to search every single nationality. If you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that. But if you search any other nationality, I'm going to use Nigerians as an example, you at least see pictures. You at least see much better pictures of Nigerians. You see much better pictures of Ghanaians. You see much better picture of Jamaicans. You see much better pictures of Kenyans. But anything associated with Haiti is always bad. It's always boring. It's always angry. It's always aggressive. And then we sit here and we wonder why people don't associate themselves with Haiti or Haitians or this, because there's so many negative associations with Haiti. So then we have to ask ourselves, where do these negative associations of Haiti and Haitians, where did these negative associations of Haiti and Haitians, where does that come from? Who's doing that? Who is doing that? And then once you actually ask yourself that question, you start to understand who is doing that, because that's being done on purpose. You know, that's being done on purpose. I did an experiment a while ago when I asked a lot of people about Haiti, and all they said was voodoo, 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 voodoo. That's all they talk about. Oh, Haitians and voodoo, 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 voodoo. And I'm like, wow, that's horrible. That's horrible. When you're just associated with voodoo and people just make fun of you and say that you do voodoo, and all they say is that you eat dirt cookies, and wow. Like Haiti doesn't have a good rep at all. At all. So then when you think about it, how does that affect the business atmosphere of Haiti, right? How does that affect their tourism industry? How does that affect a whole bunch of things that affect countries of today? It obviously affects Haiti and Haitians in a very negative way. And that's not cool. So I'm just saying to everybody who claims that they care about Black people across the whole world, if you do, but you never bothered to look at the reason why Haiti is the way that it is today, I have to question you a little bit. I'm sorry. That's kind of fake to me. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You're sitting there saying you care about Black people, but you know Haitians are going through things, but you never reach out to Haitians. You don't get to know Haitians. Every time you hear the word Haiti, it makes you uncomfortable. So the colonizers' tricks are working then. The colonizers' games are working then. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I'm starting to think, if Haiti had more money, would Haiti be then more respected? So if that's the case, you're telling me you only respect Black countries that have money? Wow. Isn't that also a capitalistic, colonized mindset to a certain extent? I guess it kind of is. You know, but for my brothers and sisters in Haiti, this might sound kind of weird. I don't feel bad at what's going on, because that president is not the hugest problem in Haiti. The hugest problem in Haiti is the fact that Haiti decided to be the first independent Black country, and the West has never forgiven them for that. That's the biggest problem in Haiti. It's not even the president, it's beyond the president. It's the fact that the West, they claim that they're over it, but you can tell that France really to this day, they still have not let go of the fact that Haiti said, I don't need you anymore, leave me alone. You can tell France is still angry about that. You can clearly tell. They act like they're not, but they are. And the US tries to be, and the US follows along by, oh, Haitians, don't worry, Haitians, we care about you, human rights, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, at the same time, you were enslaving their cousins. At the same time, you were enslaving these people's cousins. But in 2021, or whenever that earthquake happened, that's when US was like, oh, don't worry, Haiti, we're gonna help you. You know, we're gonna help you develop your country. We really care about you. They're fake. They're fake. They really are. So with that being said, I challenge African countries. You have seen what Haiti has gone through. So all these African countries that are doing really good, I don't understand why you're not reaching out to Haiti. That's not cool to me. Now you can say, okay, well, these countries are worried about fixing themselves. I'm not talking about, oh, you gotta take on Haiti's problems, but at the same time, you don't seem to be actually trying to even collaborate with Haiti. That's not cool. And that doesn't show a strong front against these Europeans. It doesn't. If anyone knows, does anyone even know what Haiti does? Like, does Haiti have natural resources or something? Like, why is Haiti should not be that poor, period. Like it shouldn't still be in that position. So it's really sad, but I'm gonna check what you guys are saying. What's up, GK? What's up, my bro? Hi, Mr. Uganda. Hello, St. James. Hi, Bijou Noir. Who is this? Hi, Nanayo. There is a lot to talk about Haiti. A lot. Yeah, there is a lot to talk about Haiti. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but some people, when they hear the word Haiti, it makes them uncomfortable. That stemmed down from rumors and myths about Haitians, especially the very religious Black people. When they hear the word Haiti, it scares them, but they don't understand why. That's a problem. That's not good. That's really not good. And you can sit there and say Haiti is an island all day. Haiti's not that big. But is that Haiti's fault that's an island? Is that Haitians' fault that Haiti is not that big? Is that their fault? No. So then why are you using it as a diss against them? Like, who are these people? Who do people think? They really don't. People really don't think. Also, the fact that Haiti is francophone. No, Haiti being francophone, I don't think is that big of a problem. It's a whole bunch of things. It's Haiti, it's the fact that they're Black because they're right beside the Dominicans. So people would rather rock with Dominicans, because they're lighter skinned. People would rather rock with Dominicans than Haitians. That's not cool. What did Haitians do to deserve that? When they have their own fellow Black people around the whole world not really acknowledge them. What did they do to deserve that? I'm not saying that every Black country should bow down to Haiti and kiss Haitians in their feet, but Black people, and especially the offspring of a lot of Black people, should at least understand the significance of Haiti and Haitians. They need to understand the significance of that. I don't speak enough about Haiti. It doesn't mean that I don't care about Haiti. I do my research. I get to know about what Haiti went through and what they continuously going through. And I'm very thankful for Haiti. I'm very thankful for Haitians. I'm very thankful for the example that they set. And it's not just about the revolution. Trust me, if people think that Haiti is just the revolution, it's not about that. It's even beyond the revolution. Like, can you imagine your country, the colonizers basically taking out their anger on your country? So they basically for years say, you're not allowed to trade with us. We don't care about you. You owe us money. Okay. Our slave masters are broke, so you owe us money. And who is there to help Haiti? Was South Africa there to help Haiti? Nope. They're going through their own problems. So that's what I'm saying. Like in 2021, when some of these countries are supposedly getting better, which they are, I'm not going to contradict themselves. They are getting better. Where's this whole brotherhood? Where did it go? Where did the brother go? Where did the brotherhood go? Where is it? Where's all these people that say that they care about Black people? Where are they? When Haiti, Haiti needs something. I think the even recipe for Haiti to get better would be an acknowledgement and more acceptance, especially from other Black nations. I think that would do something to actually help Haiti a lot, and Haiti's self-confidence, because I think the issue right now with a lot of Haitians and Haiti, the nation itself, is that its self-confidence is a little bit low. So how do we bring Haiti's self-confidence back up again? Because that's really important. What was the cause of the cholera outbreak? What are you guys talking about? And did anyone cover how messed up the Red Cross were to Haiti? The donations that went towards their relief were rerouted away from them and towards stupid stuff. Yeah, the Red Cross donations, it all went to their workforce. It all went to paying those musicians for the things that they did. It all went to paying actors. All of that was a big scam, basically. But if an African country were to do that, they would be exiled, right? But because it's a Red Cross organization, they never get to be held accountable. Mind you, if it was France that had that earthquake, if it was US that had that earthquake, if it was, I don't know, any other white country that had that earthquake, all of a sudden, that money that was raised from the Red Cross, it would be accounted for. All of a sudden, that money wouldn't be messed with. But because it's Haiti, they don't care. You see how they slap people in their faces? They do the same thing for basically almost every other Black country. But we kind of forget that the fact that they do it to Haiti too. And they never apologize. And that's really sad. It breaks my heart, really. Africa is doing good economically. We just need to portray the huge advances. Yep, the African Union hasn't gotten anything done. That is why I'm confused when Pan-Africans, I don't really believe in the African Union, the organization. I believe in African unity, but do I believe that the African Union is doing what it's supposed to do? Not at all. I don't know. That's a completely different topic, but the African Union is very suspect, so to speak, because they pick and choose when they want to support. They pick and choose who they want to support. They pick and choose which issues they want to focus on. And that's not cool. I mean, if you're saying you care about all of Africa, you're the African Union, you're supposed to care about everybody equally, not just people who have money. Okay, these African unions only care about people who have money. They only care about the countries that, quote unquote, have money. The countries that don't have money, you're never going to hear African Union talk about their issues. So what is that all about? Why does everything, I get it. Like, we live in a competitive world. We live in a world where economics is very important. I'm not saying that money is not important. I'm not, but at the same time, why is it that respect, especially in these type of things, always has to go to countries or people that have money? No, the countries that aren't doing so well, they don't matter. It's only the ones that call the shots that matter. And that's not cool. That's not right. Because if we were talking about just resource richness, period, it would be Congo. Everybody likes a Congo, but that's the country that actually, they should be calling more shots than they are. But you see some of these countries that have nothing. that because they found a way of getting money, then they're like dominating every other country. And that's what I see with the organization of the African Union. So again, it's cool, but I don't like the bullying. Like that's not cool. You know, so my country is small, or maybe it's not doing that well economically, so the voices of my people automatically don't matter. But we're talking about union? That needs to be changed. And whoever's gonna change that, they need to hurry up and do that. I'm happy for that, but it's not enough. The free trade area will take, yeah, the free trade area, I don't want to knock anybody or toot anyone's horns, but the free trade area is good, but that's like, okay, I'm somebody, right, who I don't like mediocrity, if you've noticed. I don't like just, oh, okay, we're doing good, so let's relax. No, we have to keep going. We have to keep going. The free trade is a good start, but we have a lot of work to do. It's not just free trade. So every country needs to pick it up now, right? Because we're saying, okay, we have free trade, so work on your country, build your roads. Because how am I gonna transport my items to your country if my roads suck? How can I do that? How can I send you my items when my country has so much light off, when the electricity in my country is not stable? How am I supposed to trade with you when the mechanisms for me to trade with you need work, right? So please don't just say free trade, free trade. Let's fix these mechanisms that could actually help us to effectively execute this free trade. Else, you're just wasting money. At this point, nobody has time to waste money. We've been doing that. You know, we can't keep doing that. I always believe we can do better. Me too. Haitians seem more African, so people in the diaspora were taught negative. Haitians seem more African, absolutely. Haitians are very African. And you're right. I think that is another reason why people don't gravitate towards them, because they gravitate towards Afro-Brazilians a lot. They gravitate towards even the Black Spanish people, right? But when it comes to Haitians, all of a sudden, all those negative stereotypes are there. And that's a huge problem, because to me, Haitians, they represent a lot of power. But in 2021, I think a lot of Haitians have given up because there's no support. There's no support. And there isn't enough positive representations about Haiti. If anybody knows any positive representations about Haiti, please let me know, because I don't know too many. And I'll be honest with you, in real life conversations, not conversations over here, but I mean real life person-to-person conversations about Haiti, it's usually been negative. Those conversations usually ended up in that person talking about Haitian stereotypes. Like, oh, you better be careful about those people. They come from the part of Africa where they do voodoo. You better be careful. And I'm just like, are people still saying this? What? People are still saying this about Haitians? Wow, what did Haitians do to deserve all of this? I understand why the colonizers feel the way they feel about Haiti, but why do other Black people feel that way about Haiti? That's not cool. We have to break that chain. We must break that chain. You know, we have to do that, because even we're talking about, okay, and I mentioned this earlier, but I think what I want to say to add to that now is, you know how I was saying, like, we need to help Haiti, Haiti needs this, Haiti needs better representation, Haiti needs this and that. Well, if we're going to go to our presidents, right, or we're going to go to our leaders and tell them, hey, we need to be there for Haiti, It has to start from the society, because the society has to care about Haitians before you can even get the government to care about Haitians. So it's a bit of work. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like it's there's many sides to look at this type of situation. Hollywood is the reason for the negative views of voodoo. Exactly. Because, even some of these brainwashed people out here, though they keep talking about voodoo, but you being a Christian doesn't stop you from sleeping with somebody's man. You being a Muslim doesn't stop you from stealing at the grocery store. So even all of these religious people that call themselves extremely religious, they do horrible things with their religion. But now all of a sudden, voodoo is 100% bad. I'm like, there's good and bad in everything. So obviously there's good voodoo too. But people only talk about the bad voodoo for whatever reason. They only focus on the bad voodoo for whatever reason. But the bad Christianity, the bad Islam, the bad Buddhism, the bad Sikhism, all these other religions that also do bad things, and people of that religion usually cover it up. Nobody can talk about that. But when it comes to voodoo, that's the only religion that people like to pick on. And it's not even a religion, but you guys know what I mean. Where I live now, Haitians are proud and got money caked up, but I do remember living on the St. Mark and people looking down on them. Never understood that. Oh, so Haitians now are doing good? That's good. I'll be honest with you, I don't know a lot of Haitians. I only know 2 Haitians, and they never talk about Haiti, so I don't know. But if Haitians are proud, then I guess that's good, because some of the things that people talk about Haiti, like, it happens everywhere. So Haitians need to get better. Haitians need to get better. We can discuss. When people talk about Haitians, I noticed some remark how they look like they have more African in them. That's probably why people don't like Haitians visually, because they look African. Well, they are African. I spoke about our fake unity at the African Union, and my own brothers and sisters got upset. Exactly, because what is the African Union? Like, what is that? What is the African Union? African Union, the organization, reminds me a lot about Pan-Africanism. But again, like I said, the only countries that get to speak at the African Union are the Nigerians, the South Africans, the Ghanaians, the Kenyans, the Ethiopians. They're the only countries that get to speak at the African Union. Everybody else, hey, thank you for coming. Please sit down and listen to us. So, what? If a country like Lesotho, right? A country like Lesotho needs help, nobody cares. A country like Malawi needs help, nobody cares. A country like Madagascar needs something, nobody cares. Haiti did something, nobody cares. But as soon as the favorite people of the African Union need something, everybody else is supposed to care. That model does not work. Don't get me started on the North Africans. Don't get me started on them. Do not get me started on them. On the Tunisians, the Algerians, the Moroccans. I mean, yeah, I believe in unity, but not unity in the lines of only the countries that have money get to make the rules. That's not gonna work. No. I spoke about our fake. When people talk of, okay, voodoo is more or less like a religion. Haitians are very proud people. They don't like being associated as certain Black people. Like who? Like Jamaicans? Because I love my Jamaicans. Like I know Qwecy, you don't really like Jamaicans. I love Jamaicans. Oh, I love them. You know why I like Jamaicans? I feel like Jamaicans have that attitude of you can't mess with me. And they fight. They fight for what they need and they fight for what they want. And I feel like a lot of Africans and a lot of Caribbeans need that spirit. They need that because they're lacking that. And that's why we're being taken advantage of. And that's why we're being taken advantage of, right? So we've been accustomed to being taken advantage of, that when we see our brother or sister be taken advantage of, we don't feel like it's a big deal because we're used to that and we shouldn't be used to that. People talk about, oh, how are these countries supposed to support each other? Like, support is not only about money. It really isn't. Support is very symbolic. When Nigeria was going through that whole Lekki tollgate massacres, right? You saw the support that a lot of African countries gave Nigeria at the time. It should always be like that. It shouldn't just be, oh, because people are dying, so now we're going to support Nigeria and Nigerians. It should be other things too, a little bit more. I think we're going to move on to the next part, which is Africa, right? We're going to talk about Africa and how Africa has been perceived. Now, I want to make this very clear. I love Africa and I would do anything for Africa. I have a lot that I need to do for Africa, but I'm very critical of Africa because I just see things that Africa needs, and it just makes me upset that we're taking so long to get these things. It makes me so upset. Like, you don't understand how mad I get. So that's why sometimes it comes off as I'm being very critical of Africa and Africans. But when you love something or you love someone, in this case, it would be Africa, you have to be honest sometimes. So sometimes my honesty about how I feel about Africa comes off as hate. And it's not hate, but it's just, what is it? It's disappointment. It's disappointment. So is Africa really all that poor, right? The answer to that question is no, it isn't. Africa's not that bad, to be quite honest. I feel like a lot of people think that Africa is poor because they're looking at Africa the way that Africa was in the 1970s and the 1980s. During that point, right, 1970s to early 2000s, there was a lot of famine in Africa, the Ethiopian famine. There were many civil wars, many conflicts, a lot of political uprisings that were happening. So the Africa of that time versus the Africa of 2021 are completely different. Like, people forget that things change. In 20, 30 years, you and I are going to be very different, right? We're going to not look the same, unfortunately. So you don't think that in 20, 30 years, ever since the 1970s to now, or the 1980s to now, or even the 90s to now, that Africa hasn't changed? You think Africa is still that world vision Africa? Yeah, some African countries, they're not doing that great, but in the last 10 years, there has been a lot of improvement on the continent. There's been vast, drastic improvements. In the past, a lot of African countries, they used to get money from the IMF, the World Bank, what would you call all those institutions. But now, many African countries, their economic statuses have changed. They're no longer on the low, 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 low. A lot of them are coming to the middle. Some of them are moving from the low, low, low to the low, and some are going from the low to the middle. The middle class itself in many African countries is changing. I know you guys know that. Back in the days, right, it wasn't that common for Africans to build their own houses. Like, you would just live in your parents' compound. You would live in your grandparents' compound. If you're a woman, you got married, then you live to the second family house. But now Africans are building their own houses. Now Africans are investing into real estate. Africans are starting businesses now. They're realizing, oh, wow, I don't need to be an engineer and then I need to stay in my parents' house for like 10 years because I'm looking for a job. Africans are making it. Africans are getting that money. Okay? They're getting that money. And in as much as we don't like corruption in Africa, the good thing about Africa is you don't get taxed a lot. So a lot of these millionaires, these same millionaires that are over here, if they were in Africa, they would have way more money because the government doesn't take as much money. So these people are making money in Africa. They're finding ways. They're hustling like crazy. I was about to insert a picture. I lost it. But there was a picture of a boy on the street, and he was charging his phone by solar power panel. He was charging his cell phone with a solar power panel. Like, these people out here, they're not playing. They're not messing around. Africans are finding ways to make it. You know? And when people talk about, oh, there's this war, there's that war, to be honest, a lot of the wars in Africa, they were fought 20, 15 years ago. Now, the conflicts that are happening in Africa, they're kind of really small as compared to the wars that were like 20, 30 years ago, right? So 20, 30 years ago, depending on which African country, yeah, you could say, oh, it's probably not a good idea to go there. But now, the Africa of today is much more peaceful than it was 10, 15 years ago. Much more peaceful. So it's kind of sad that people don't see that side of Africa because the media constantly shows people, they constantly feed off of bad things that happen in Africa. But when we're talking about there are boys out there building cars with scrap metal, BBC, what's the other one, CNN, all these other news stations will never talk about those things that are happening in Africa. They'll never talk about that Sierra Leonean man that created his own app. They'll never talk about that. But if there's a presidential issue, then BBC will go there, oh, breaking news, breaking news. But when like good things are happening in Africa, they're not running to go there to report it. So that kind of also adds into the stereotype that Africa is not safe, that Africa is this, that Africa is all about World Vision and orphanages. Yeah, maybe like 15 years ago, I'll probably agree with you. Not the whole continent, but some countries, yeah, I would agree with you. But in 2021, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Mali, the situation in Mali where they got rid of their president, even the situation in Nigeria, even though some people were like, that's not good, at least people actually stood up. Because the Nigeria of 1960s would never stand up. There would never be a Lekki toll gate massacre. All of that situation would not be on the news, right? But the Nigeria of today, the youth are like, you know what? I'm going to fight for this cause. So things are changing in Africa. So if you honestly think that Africa is stagnant, that Africa is the same Africa that was 40 years ago, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You know? In as much as I complain about how Africa needs to do better, Africa needs to improve, Africa is improving. What I'm complaining about is the rate that it's improving. That's what's making me upset. But I will not sit here and say that Africa is not improving. Are you crazy? Are you sick? Africa is improving. Whether you like it or not, whether BBC will waste their time talking about it or not, Africa is improving. The middle class is getting it. Why do you think that even the rich people of over here, they have offshore accounts? Because they get it. They're like, oh no, I'm not saving my money over here to have the Canadian government, the UK government, the US government eat up all my money. I'm putting my money somewhere else in a foreign land where I could keep my money. So them Africans that people are talking about, them Africans, they're getting it. Oh, don't be fooled. Nigerians, Nigeria Afrobeats, they're Nollywood, Ghana's Gollywood, Kenya manufacturing cars. They're getting it. In as much as I speak bad about Ghana sometimes, don't think that Ghana's down here. Ghana? Have you guys seen Ghana of today? We're not talking about the Ghana of 2008 that was struggling. We're not talking about that Ghana. We're talking about the 2021 Ghana. The tourism industry is taking off, period. 9th largest economy in Africa. Nigerians are not playing. Do you know how many billionaires are in Nigeria? Ethiopia. Do you see the value of that dam? The dam that they have? And the Nile River? South Africa has always been balling. We know this. South Africa's always been balling. We know that. Look at Cape Town, Johannesburg. Botswana is doing good. Rwanda is investing in technology. Tanzania, as big as it is, Tanzania has a lot of money too. Some of these countries, Kenya, of course, can't forget about Kenya. Cote d'Ivoire is like, I think it's leading in the Francophones. Angola is doing very well. People don't talk about Angola much because they speak Portuguese, but Angola is doing extremely well financially, economically, technologically. Like, these people are not playing. These people are not playing. The development on the continent, it's crazy. And the good thing about the development on the continent, right? It's now being developed not only by Muzungus, like, in fact, a lot of these top African countries are running away from IMF, World Bank. They're not working with Europeans much. Some of them are not working with Europeans at all. They're not taking loans. They're finding other means. They're working with India. They're working with China. They're working with Cuba. They're finding new business partners on the continent. They don't like those, it's called those slave loan contracts. They're finding their way. They're finding different ways of developing things. Every day, an African country is fixing their airport. Every day, they're fixing their school system. Every day, a new railroad is being built. A new train station is being built. So when people are sitting here talking about Africa's poor, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Africa's dangerous. I don't know what you're talking about. Because even when we're talking about Cameroon, right? I'm going to talk about this. It's going to be a separate thing one of these days. But if you look at the situation, the conflict that's happening in Cameroon, it's literally a conflict that's happening in one part of Cameroon. But people are out here freaking out like, oh, Cameroon's dangerous. There's a civil war. And I'm like, it's literally in one city. But you're here talking about as if the whole country is being war-torn. They do that a lot. People do that a lot. It's like saying that, oh, all of Chicago is dangerous. It's literally one part of Chicago where all this nonsense is happening. The other parts of Chicago, downtown Chicago, is beautiful. So people see Africa as like a Chicago, right? As like a South Side Chicago where, oh, everywhere is in turmoil. Everywhere is this, everywhere is that. Nope. Some of these conflicts that you guys are talking about, it's literally happening in one city, one province. But the news is going to make it seem as if the whole country is going down the drain. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In as much as I don't like conflicts, right? In as much as I don't like fighting, I don't like seeing people go through things on the continent, I cannot deny that as soon as the war is over, peace actually comes. After Rwanda, peace actually comes. After Liberia, peace actually comes. After all the coup d'etats that Ghana had, guess what? Peace actually came. So when I even see some of these wars, not even wars, there's technically no war. When I see some of these conflicts, these violent conflicts that are going on the continent, and people are freaking out like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting there like, okay, let these, if it's two tribal people, let those tribal people figure it out. Let them fight. When they're tired, they'll start to realize that there's more important things and the country can move forward. The country will eventually move forward. So when I see some of these African countries, these conflicts that are going on, I don't freak out because it's okay. They're gonna fight and then they're gonna move on and they're gonna be best friends. It happens. Believe it or not, it happens. So all of this negativity about Africa, like, oh, they can't get it together, they can't do this. Above all of that, guess what? Africa is improving. Above all of that, skyscrapers are being built every day. Development is going on like crazy. People are out here complaining about the prices in East Legon. Okay, so what? You want Africa to be the third world Africa that you envisioned your whole life? You don't think that Africa can develop? You don't think that these cities are going to get more expensive? You don't think that these Africans who are investing in real estate, you don't think that they're going to start making money? Well, so Africa should be low. It's the whole time. Africa needs to be low. But when prices go up, when the prices of land go up, when people start living a better quality life in Africa, all of a sudden people want to now complain. So what do you want? Do you want Africa to improve, or do you want Africa to always be that World Vision Africa? No, I'm happy Africa is improving. You don't act now, you're going to be priced out. That's your problem. That's your problem. Whether you like it or not, phones are being built on the continent. Cote d'Ivoire is doing very, very well with the cocoa industry. The Tunisians and the Ethiopians are doing very, very well in the coffee industry. Things are being manufactured on the continent every day. New factories are being built all the time. New manufacturing plants are being built on the continent all the time. Countries' GDPs are rising like crazy. Some of these countries 10 years ago, they were like broke. Now they're making it. The face of Africa is changing for real. And I know some people don't realize that, and that's cool. You can do your own research, but the face of Africa is changing. Like, Africa is developing. No, some of these roads, and this is the issue. If you speak to some continentals, especially the ones that left Africa maybe years ago because of war or political issues, some who've never been back home in like 20, 30 years, they go back to their village, and all these roads are paved out of nowhere. The lights are working. So things are being done. Yes, corruption's a problem. And don't worry, I will continue to talk about corruption, but Africa's still improving. Through all of that, Africa is improving. Seaports are being developed all the time. Somalia is doing okay because Somalia is a really sensitive country, right? Like, we all know the situation of Somalia. If you don't, it's kind of sad. But even Somalia is starting to get their act together. So even if Somalia is getting their act together, you don't think that these other African countries are getting their act together? Have you guys ever seen Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire? Abidjan is such a beautiful city. I think it's because it's a francophone country, so people don't talk about it much. But Abidjan, these countries, real estate, trust me, some of us won't even be able to afford it. That's how beautiful and how innovative Africa is becoming. Africa's advancing like crazy. I'm not even joking. And another thing I wanted to say is, you know how back in the days in these World Vision commercials, I keep calling it World Vision because that's the only company I know that does this. I know there's others, but these World Vision commercials, right? Back in the days, they would have all these commercials and they would say things like, oh, well, you could feed this person for $1 a day. Oh, you could feed this person for $1 a day. Let me tell you this, that's actually not that bad. You know why? Because the cost of living in Africa is way cheaper than the cost of living over here. So if I have $1 and I want to feed myself in Africa, trust me, I can feed myself with $1. So when these people always used to come and make it like an insult that, oh, Africans are eating on $1 a day, you can definitely eat on a US dollar, $1 a day in Africa, no problem. The US dollar has a higher currency, right? So how is this so shocking that you can eat with $1 in Africa? Like, what's so shocking about that? But see, that's the psychological nonsense that these World Vision people have done for years. For years. Right? If $1 is about 5 Ghanaian cities, then I can even feed myself for like 2 Ghanaian cities. So basically, I could feed myself for less than 50 cents a day in Africa. Pretty much, I can. But World Vision wants to make that seem like it's such a bad thing. See, that's what I'm telling you. These people don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. $1 is 14 Lesotho lotis. That's a lot of money. Let me see, what's the other one? $1 is 5.81 Ghanaian cities. And I know you might be like, oh, that's not a lot. Yeah, multiply that by 5. That means that if I have $10, I have about almost, I probably have over 60, almost 70 Ghanaian cities. So obviously, I'm going to be able to feed myself for $1 on the continent a day. Obviously, I'm going to be able to feed myself. But World Vision won't tell you that. World Vision will not tell you that. Even the 5 cities is that's even because Ghana's currency is a bit high. So even that is a lot of money. But World Vision won't tell you that though. See? It's the psychological nonsense that, oh, Africa constantly needs help. Africa constantly needs aid. Africa constantly needs something when you're stealing from them every day. So why don't you leave them alone? But yeah, I guess what I wanted to say is that, you know, if you're asking the question, is Africa all that poor? It's not as poor as you think. I don't even think it's poor, but if you think that it's poor, it's not as poor as you think. Yes, you. Yes, all of you. It's not as poor as you think. It's not. Do you know how much land is over there? They said that the map, the current map that they have of the world, that Africa is 4 times the size that they put on the map, right? So when they were drawing that map, when the colonizers were drawing that map, they didn't even draw Africa the right size that Africa is supposed to be. Africa's bigger than that size on that map. So if that's the case, how much land is there over there? How much land is over there? But you're talking about people are poor. Do you know how many farmers? Do you know how many farmers own acres? Not square feet, acres of land. I think what in the US, what 45 acres is like, no, not 45. I don't know, but I saw some kind of number. I forgot what the number was, but they were selling acres of land for like $45,000. And I'm like, Africans have that easy. Africans have that equivalent of that land easy. Easy. A lot of them do. Maybe not one person, but in one family, a family could easily own acres of land, no problem. But people are here to talk about, oh, these people don't have anything. Yeah, I'll admit, I'm going to put the link in the chat. I'm pretty much almost done with what I wanted to say, but I'll admit that banking, like going to the bank, is something that's kind of new for a lot of African countries. They don't really like to go to the bank. But why is that? Because they don't believe that the bank is at the bank. They believe the bank is what you have in your house. They believe the bank is what you have in your family. They believe bank is assets. Your houses are your assets. Your land are your assets. Your livestock is your assets. All of these things are assets. So yeah, if I'm African or whatever, I don't have like $60,000 in my bank account, but I got like $100,000 worth of assets around me. Yeah, I'm definitely doing much better than you, Europeans. I'm definitely doing much better than you, Europeans. Even if I have $2,000 in Africa, 2,000 US dollars in Africa, I have $10,000 in African money, right? Or maybe $12,000 in African money without being in debt. Some of these people that these people call poor, they're really not, though. They're really not. They're not out here on credit. They're not out here owing a whole bunch of people. They're not out here with collections calling them every day. They're okay. They're okay. But you know, these people always gotta make it seem like they're the only ones that are okay and that everyone else is not. And that helps with their agenda. That helps with their narrative. As I mentioned a couple of days ago, it's good for them to keep doing World Vision commercials. It's good for them to keep having these organizations that go to Africa and take advantage of African people. It's good for them to go to Africa, right? It's good for them to go to like maybe Kenya or to some of these rural areas, take pictures with African kids. And then when they upload these pictures online, they make money. They make money from their websites. So it's good for them to use Africans for their charities in order to make money and then not invest those charities in the African communities. It's good for them to do that. It helps with their agenda. It helps with their agenda. So then if the rest of the world thinks, oh, well, these people have nothing anyway, it helps with their agenda. But this whole is Africa even that poor? It really isn't. The amount of money that is circulated in these markets, they say that the market sellers, right? The women that sell stuff in the market, they make money, okay? In Africa, it's not the grocery stores like Walmart or Target or that are making, it's the market sellers that are making the money. They're literally part of a huge part of the economy. So it's like a different way of doing things, basically. It's a different way in which money is allocated. It's a different way in which money is tracked. It's a different way. Yes, maybe that way could improve. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that that way is the most perfect way, but it's not as bad as some people even want to think. Like, it's kind of insulting, actually. It's kind of insulting. I'll just watch you three discuss the matter from the live chat. I will call in, but I like to just listen in today. I think you all have a nice discussion that would be, yes, Africa doesn't need aid. We need fair trade, plus Africans need to trade more. Yeah, Africans need to trade more with each other. Every country needs aid, right? Every country needs, actually, no, let me rephrase that. Every country needs foreign investments, right? Every country needs foreign development, and every country in the world does take foreign investment. Every country does take foreign development, but it's to the level of, are they really that poor over there? As I mentioned, they say, oh, well, Africans live on $1 a day. Like, yeah, your US dollar in some other African country is like, what, $20? So they can live on $20 a day over there. You can't. When they say, oh, well, yeah, Africans are living below the poverty line, which metrics are you using to measure the poverty line? Are you not using metrics of what the poverty line of your country is? Basically, okay, so you're saying that Africans are living on less than, let's say, 20,000 US dollars a year. Of course, they can live on less than 20,000 US dollars. They're not in US. So obviously, most Africans are gonna live on less than 20,000 US dollars, okay? A lot of Africans can live on even 10,000 US dollars. They can live very comfortably because guess what? They're not spending US dollars. So when people talk about, oh, well, the global poverty line, I'm like, what metrics are you using? Where are the critical thinkers that everyone says that they are? Where are they? Where are those people? Where are the critical thinkers? The average cost of a home in Denver, Colorado is oh, that's cheap. What makes a country considered poor? Does the amount of mansions and millionaires negate the fact that a country may be poor? Honest question. I don't know what makes a country poor. I have no idea. I don't know. I have no idea. Do you mean that the country doesn't make a lot of money? Because all of that, I think, is kind of relative. It's relative to the population. It's relative to how much resources they have. It's relative to how much debt they're in. So I don't even know. But I would argue that a lot of these countries that people call poor aren't. Like, yes, you could say Congo, for instance, is poor because they don't have a high GDP. But Congo also doesn't owe a lot of money to anybody. They don't. So let's say when and if they do get their act together, their children will not have to pay off that debt for generations and generations and generations like some other countries will, right? Because some countries right now, they're in so much debt that their generations are being affected because the quality of life has to be lowered because they don't have enough money to pump into certain things such as healthcare, social services, and all of that. So some of these countries are functioning, but they're broke. Well, you have a country that's Congo that doesn't have a lot of money, but they're not owing that much either. But I don't know. So all I'm saying, I'm not saying that Africa is like completely like, okay, I'm not saying that Africa doesn't have work to do. I'm not saying that the GDPs in Africa can't improve, but I'm saying that these ideas of Africa that a lot of people have are very outdated. Like a lot of people still think of Africa as Ethiopia in the 1970s. Like, boo, Ethiopians, they're not starving like that. I can promise you, they're not starving like that. These countries are advancing. They're moving forward. Why do you think their real estate prices are going up every day? Oh, because you think that those countries are stagnant? Nope. Their GDPs are moving up. The middle class in a lot of these countries is getting bigger. I know you guys see Udemaya. You guys see a whole bunch of these YouTubers that are showing Africans that are starting businesses as they're younger now. So these African countries are improving. So yeah, it's not as poor as you think it is. It isn't. Sorry. Hello. The sustainability of your riches from generation to generation, great achievement and worthy of praise for sure. Yeah, a lot of continentals, even if they don't have money in their bank accounts, they have inheritances. As I speak right here, I have an inheritance of land that it's great. Bro, I didn't do anything to deserve that land. I was just born, but it's gonna be passed down to me. Okay, thank you. I'll take that. For free? Oh, I'll take that. I will take that. Where did that land come from? Apparently it came from my great grandfather. Thank you. Thank you, Nana. I love you so much, Nana. Thank you. You gave me land for no reason. I love that. But how common is that over here in the West? How common is that? No. Hey, if you honestly think that land is not power, if you honestly think that that land is meaningless, please let me know. Please let me know. Because if land was meaningless, why is there a price on it? So I'm inheriting land, right? I don't have any chickens, unfortunately, that I'm going to inherit. I don't have any cows, unfortunately, that I'm going to inherit, but I'm going to inherit land. So what am I going to do with it? Well, I know I have to develop it, but the other part of the land, I'm saving it to pass it down to the future generation. But people want to call that poor. Okay, sure. Call me poor all day, all day. I have land. I have land, and I could grow whatever I want in it. But we're poor, right? Okay. All right. See, this is the issue sometimes. I guess that geographically, my grandmother is the only person I know to ever have land house to leave behind, and my mother doesn't even appreciate and take care of it. Yeah, that's a problem. That happens in Africa too. They do that too. Someone will get land and they won't make use of it, and then that's why they'll be poor. Like for instance, you know, in my case where I said I'm inheriting land. Okay, so imagine, right? If I inherit the land and I don't do anything with the land, right? I just let it stay there and I don't do anything to it. I don't develop it. I don't take care of it. That's what causes problems. So I think that's the issue that, yeah, some Africans need to manage that. They need to do better with that. But what I'm also arguing in 2021 is that we're seeing a lot of Africans that are managing it, that they are taking care of their land, that they are, oh, wait, I don't just have to grow fruits and vegetables on it. I can grow fruits and vegetables and sell these fruits and vegetables to the West and make money. Oh, okay, I got a whole bunch of houses, right? Well, instead of making myself or building like 3 houses for my children, I can build 1 house and then rent another house for real estate. So that's what we're seeing now with Africa, that more Africans are doing. They're trying to become more business savvy and it's helping them. So yeah, there is a difference between the Africa of 10 years ago, even as opposed to today. There's a huge difference. I think the problem, obviously, is that a lot of Africans, they want to do this whole capitalistic thing, but they're not doing it properly. And that's usually what ends them in those type of situations. But to be honest, what I'm seeing on the continent, it's really good. And again, if anybody is thinking about investing into Africa, please don't wait until 5-10 years, because then you're going to be priced out and you're going to be on here talking about, oh, East Legon, I can't afford there. Oh, I can't afford Mombasa. Oh, I can't afford Luanda. Like, invest now, because Africans' beachfront property is not going to be there forever. It's not. So I think a lot of Africans are seeing those opportunities and they're actually changing. But yeah, what do you guys consider to be not poor, or what do you guys consider to be poor? I don't think I understand the grasp of that, to be quite honest. Okay. But if anyone wants to come on and talk to me, because now I feel like I'm talking to myself, and that's not cool. Because or at least drop some comments in here. If you have any questions, then I'll answer it. Because yeah, now I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, yeah. I guess I'll check some of these comments. I'm gonna pin the link at the top of the chat. The health illnesses I have acquired from just being born here doesn't make me like the West as much, but perhaps the grass sometimes looks greener or on the other side. Oh yeah, same here. The health issues over here is crazy, man. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it, man. For instance, at one point I was vitamin D deficient. At one point I had low iron. I had low this. I had low that. I'm like, what is going on? All I'm doing is working. But back home, I didn't have, well, I was younger, but I still didn't have those issues when I was back home. And my cousins, especially the females back home, they're like princesses. It's so not fair. It's so not fair. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it nice and clear though?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just had to make sure. But yeah, we were getting into a really good discussion in the comments section about, whether people fare better in the West than in the continent. I think it was an interesting line of discourse that was going on, because I know GK had mentioned that many continentals regard the West as, a more luxurious and a more palatable place to live. And yeah, they do initially, because my father is one person who, as such, who traveled from Uganda to the UK.
Thanks for reminding me. I'm going to talk about that after. Keep going.
And yeah, like, it's just interesting because and in the following stuff I'm going to say, I don't want people to think I'm overly judgmental of my father's appearance or health, but I'm just going to make an observation. So yeah, I'll proceed. It seems that many do operate with the perception that the West is better, but because especially in former English colonies or protectorates, they're fed an image that, let's say, Britain is all of this and all of that. And then when they get there, they see how much they have to grind. And quite often you're asked to do much more than you should do. And then you have to factor in the quote unquote black tax. You're subjected to a lot of prejudicial resentment. You're subjected to a lot of racism. You're subjected to, just about every intersectional issue, depending on whether you're a man or a woman. And I think what's interesting is that they might have thought that it was the best thing before they went there, but now that he's in the UK and he's obviously, like, my parents have like birthed me, their glorious son, they have they've told me that they want to get out of the country. They're like, we've had enough, we need to go and retire, all of this stuff. And you see, even in their biology, actually no, rather I should say their physique, because they've worked a lot of hours, much more than you would be asked to work in, let's say, Uganda. It's taken a toll on their physical form. You see that how, like, a lot of African people in particular, a lot of people of African descent, they acquire diabetes, they high blood pressure. There's so many things that come with working in the West to maintain this quote unquote better lifestyle, that I just don't think it is better. And I think when we start factoring in a lot of the disrespect and the health toll it takes, I don't think it can truly be better. Now, as I was saying in the comments, of course it can be geographic. Oh, can you still hear me? I'm sorry. Of course it can be geographically dependent, because some people really can only do better back in the West. And what I mean by that is some people have escaped war-torn areas. Some people might have escaped, geographically, like you were saying in Cameroon. I think it's only the Anglophone part that is subjected to a lot of this warfare and a lot of this terrorism, this terroristic action. Yeah, maybe for some of them it might well be better for them to move, But as always, as I'll always emphasize, Africa is not just one broad brush. Many people can fare better, but of course, better depends on what exactly you're escaping from and what you're going to. It's a relative term and it can't be applied to the whole continent,
Yeah, no, I 100% get what you're saying, because even in my father's case, and I've talked about this before, but what did I do? Oh, okay. Even in my father's case, same thing. Like I wouldn't do what he did, to be honest, because for him to come here, for him to come to Canada, he went to Europe first. So I actually grew up in Europe a little bit as well, because we were over there, we were trying to get a visa. The whole visa process he went there first. So I was in Europe for say like 4 years, but he went there first. So his whole thing to try to get a visa, it took him a total of 11 years. So he came here in his 40s. By the time he got his permanent stay, he was in his 50s. So it's like, was that all worth it? And to him, sometimes he says yes, but I could tell sometimes it's no, because it was worth it for his offspring, but for him, not really. So if you ask him, was him coming over here worth it? He'll answer yes and no, but for him, he would say he basically sacrificed his life to come here, because he did. He sacrificed 11 years of his life just trying to get a visa, basically, just trying to get a permanent stay. So is that kind of worth it for a lot of continentals? They'd have to ask themselves that, but I wouldn't do that. Me personally, no, I would not spend 10, 7, 8 years just trying to get permanent stay in a country. And I know I'm probably speaking out of a place of privilege because I've never had to do that. But even me just thinking of the idea of doing that, it's no. It's like, okay, Africa's not good. Girl, I'm going to a different African country. I'm going to marry a rich guy. I'll figure it out. But to spend 10 years just for citizenship, I don't know.
I think what's interesting in what you're saying is that because our parents made the sacrifice to move to, let's say, a Western area, it granted us several privileges, but it also might have left us deficient in other areas. I think it's quite interesting that because I'd entered the conversation, and and I'm not talking about this particular conversation, but I'd entered into Black discussion communities around 3 or 2 years ago, and this is where it can be good to elucidate on how exactly I ran into ADOS. And this is no shot at ADOS, okay, because I'm actually going to, at least give credence to what they're saying here. But I think, let's say one time they could have been discussing on how weird it is that Africans are escaping their area, yet they always complain about maybe African Americans or Black Americans or whatever designation they ascribe to. They were always saying how like their experiences that Africans shame them for not having a culture, which I find interesting because I think as someone who's born in the West, it's quite hard for me to maintain my Ugandan culture. I struggle to even reach for it in many respects. I know my account is called Mr. Uganda, but I really am trying to retain a link to it that isn't superficial. And it's really hard to do when my parents might have prized a more English above my native language. And there's so many ramifications that come with our parents sacrificing to live here. It's like I lose a piece of myself. And when I go back to Uganda, I feel like sometimes me trying to mesh in with the culture, I feel like it's a bit performative. Pardon?
Like you're not fully being yourself. You're doing it because that's the norm.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think it's interesting because I feel like the reason why I can relate to, diasporans who want to go back home, I can relate to them in some aspects, in that they feel kind of alienated from the environment they're going into sometimes. And I feel like I'm also that way. In the same way that some of them complain about how they're viewed as white or they're called white, I'm also called an equivalent of white. I'm called Mzungu when I go back to Uganda, because it's the type of, when you're not reared in the country that you're going to in Africa, they tend to just other you sometimes, because there's certain sets of mannerisms that come with being in the West, you know? I just think it's interesting that for the materialistic life that parents sacrifice themselves for to get that better lifestyle, it leaves us in a state of cultural poverty. I think that's what I'm calling it, cultural poverty, in a sense that I feel like I don't have my culture, and I feel like I have to beg for it with my hands. So I feel like I'm trying to morph that metaphor to say that my hands are literally begged out half the time, reaching for my culture. And I feel like because I wasn't raised in that context, it's hard for me to acquire it, if that makes sense.
No, I completely understand what you're saying, because it's the same thing over here. Let me tell you, when I first, actually, I went to Europe first, so it was that was a mess. Okay, I know Europe has changed since then. And where I'm talking about specifically, I could be specific, I guess. I'm talking about Portugal and Spain. So I was living over there. We were living over there. And it was really racist. Like, it was so much more racist than it is over here. The racism was really bad. So how I coped with that is I tried to act less African or less Black in order to fit into society. And coming over here, I did the exact same thing, probably up until maybe 3 years ago. So it got to a point where it's like, okay, so what do I keep and what do I lose? And that was a really weird question to ask myself. Like, what do I keep about my culture and what do I lose? Because I want to rep my culture, but no one else is repping that culture, or no one else is really doing that over here. So what do I do? Like, do I express that or do I suppress it? And it was a really weird monologue, because technically back home, if I see somebody who is, let's say, even 15 to 20 years older than me, I would call that person auntie. Like, oh, okay, auntie. Not necessarily as a diss, but that's respect. Like, you don't call someone who is not your age group, you don't call them by their first name. So when I went to school over here, I was calling a lot of the school people, like, I would only call them by their last name, and they would be like, no, 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 you can call me by my first name. And I was like, what's this? Like, huh? What's going on? It was just these cultural differences. It was really weird. So I got to a point where I was like, do I keep my culture or do I lose it? Like, what should I do? Because that culture stands out over here a lot. So what do I do? Like, how do I navigate towards that? And it's still a question that I deal with and I ask myself every single day, because there's certain things that I didn't grow up doing and I didn't grow up believing in, but now because I'm over here, okay, I'm thinking about those things, but then I also think about what are the ramifications if I completely abandon like those cultures that I grew up with. What are the ramifications of that? Are those good or bad ramifications? It's really confusing.
I think even what you're describing, some people even feel an elevated sense of that, and their emotions take them up to the space of shame, and it's like now they start to feel ashamed, because it doesn't always translate as a difference to other people. Sometimes it just translates as feeling alien. So I feel like when, let's say in those type of examples you're discussing, even in the Spain and Portugal one, it feeds into a framework that a lot of Africans feel, in that they feel ashamed. And I feel like even the fufu challenge, I didn't take it personally, but that might be because I'm not of Nigerian or Ghanaian descent, and subscribe to fufu specifically. But I feel like those type of actions, it might trigger something, or it might trigger an aspect of shame within people who already feel like they can't tap into their culture. African millennial, I know you're like myself, and maybe there's sometimes when I'm not sure, like you might have been in like I think America they call it college, over here they call it university, and maybe you might have had someone over who wasn't of African descent, and you might have wanted to like eat a particular ethnic dish, and then it's like you get comments like, "That's stinky." Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you get comments as if to make you feel alien. I think so. It's like we're further hindered from it, and I think it's interesting that a lot of the feedback we get in response to anything we do as Africans is that you guys should be more prideful of where you come from. But I feel like depending on the individual, they might have felt so many obstacles and so many hurdles that it might be hard for them to access that. But I also think it is interesting because I feel like even that discussion point that should actually put us closer towards the diaspora. And and let's say in the context of America, they've been around, they've been in like they've had a lot of proximity to white people, like in the form of flesh. And I'm talking about like in their like trying to invade their culture, gentrification, like in the education system and stuff. So I feel like they must know what it's like to be shamed for trying to express their culture, being embracing their biology. So I feel like that should actually be a meeting point between um two different continental people. But for many reasons, we don't like to focus on what brings us together. Many times we focus on what brings us apart. But I feel like that's not trying to say that we should erase culture and like erase differences. But I feel like quite often when we have discussions, there's so much focus on the fact that we're different, we're this, we're that. But many times it's like we experience the same things, like we experience, some of us might have experienced the shaming of our cultural expressions, and an alienation, like you can't belong in a context, especially the Western context. Like, let's say for a Black woman, they can't be proud of their curvaceous figure, or they can't be proud of like the hair that sprouts from their head. For men, it's like a lot of African men feel like, we come from a culture of like very dominant men, and it's like, but do you know what the thing is? Even on that point, I actually want to discuss that point of African or even Black male masculinity in particular, because I was watching the Dreamgirls movie with my sister the other day, and when I watch movies back that I've watched in my childhood, I find that I critically inspect it more. What I found interesting is that, do you know the Eddie Murphy character in Dreamgirls? When he was performing in front of the white people, it's like you could see how the white women were completely turned off by what they could have perceivably thought was predatory sexuality. Like they were completely, like the woman was completely disgusted to the point that they had to leave the area. And I just think it's interesting that we do experience a lot of shaming within Black bodies in how to express ourselves, because it's always perceived as other, it's always perceived as, predatory and stuff of that nature. And I feel like that stuff should bring us closer together as a people, because we feel it. Different aspects, yes, but we feel it.
Okay, well, what I've noticed in Black male masculinity, it's seen as a really bad thing. Like it's not, and I don't know how they can integrate into this culture, because even if you speak to a lot of I'll just say the straight fresh off the boat ones, right? The straight ones that just came from Africa or even the Caribbean, they speak very loud.
Yes.
And over here, that is seen as such a diss. Like, can you calm down? They see it as that person's being angry. But a lot of Africans speak with passion. They speak with passion. You're taught you need to make your voice be heard. Why are you whispering? Be loud, be confident. But when you do that over here, that's seen as, oh, you're being aggressive. You're being too much. You need to be quiet. You're not being considerate of other people's feelings. And I don't think that's something that can change, because you have to fit into what the dominant society, the rules that they regulate, right? So you have to tone that down. And if you don't, then you're somebody that you're supposed to be watched, type of thing.
I think even in that, there's a nuance I want to explore. Actually, before I give that, I want to give a direct experience of me. I had to hug my sister the other day. I don't know. She's not close by, but I remember I had to say, I love the way you are, by the way. I love that you're very expressive and stuff of that nature. I think I wanted to say that just to say that we can't condemn the horrible state we're in as a people, mental health wise, but then we're so quick to squander the very, very, very dominant and creative expression within our youth. And I think when we watch success stories of Black people, regardless of nationality and ethnicity markers, I think what's interesting is that these atypical people who are able to thrive and accumulate, build businesses and get millions in 24 hours in our Black bodies, they're the ones who are not subscribing to a lot of the what's the word that there's a term, it's respectability politics. They're the ones who have a very, very driven spirit, and I feel like when you succeed, it has to come from somewhere where you take full ownership of your individuality, where you take full ownership of the gifts you bring into the world. I think one thing for sure is that they definitely socialize us to downplay our expressions, to dominate us. Because when we continually subscribe to their metric of what a proper person is, we begin to hate ourselves because you begin to identify more with them. I think one particular thing that I wish that more people would get into is that to celebrate whiteness, the thing about whiteness is that you're not really celebrating anything. When people celebrate whiteness, they're celebrating what they're not. Like, white people celebrate that, and I'm not saying all white people because but when people celebrate white achievements, they're really celebrating what they're not and what they weren't subjected to. We were the victors, you were the losers. We managed to keep our images in Egypt, but you didn't. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's the fact that they want something. So when you feed into their pathology and you take on their talking points, what you're doing is that you're feeding into nothing. And the essence of us as a people isn't nothing, it's everything. Whenever you see a piece of architecture, whenever you see a piece of food, whenever you see a hairstyle, whenever you see an expression of art, you can guarantee 100% that it came from a person like us, with our skin, with our phenotype. But that's why they don't want us to record our great doings, because they want to trick us into hating ourselves. And that feeds into everything we've been talking about today. They don't want Haiti to be reminded of the fact they revolted because they want them to hate themselves. They don't want us to express ourselves loudly because they want us to hate ourselves. They don't want the Black men to sing with all the power in their voice because they want them to hate themselves. They don't want the men and the women to get along, for Black women and men to express their love the way that they know how to, because they want them to hate themselves. Everything that we are being geared towards is just to rob us of our greatness, to rob us of our power. If we spent more time telling our children, put that power and that energy into something creative, we would have gotten miles ahead ages ago. But what we do is that we squander the next generation by telling them to aspire to whiteness implicitly, by playing into everything they tell us is wrong with ourselves. Shut up, XYZ. Don't do that. They'll think you're this, they'll think you're that. Meanwhile, every album you've got of Michael Jackson, everything of this, do you think Michael Jackson got the way he did because he was telling himself to shut up, shut up, shut up? Do you think that when you're listening to Dionne Warwick, it's because she's telling herself to shut up, shut up, shut up? Do you think when you're listening to all of these Black entertainers like Beyonce, who can speak bars above everyone else, do you think that she's telling herself to shut up, shut up, shut up? No, she's telling herself to shout louder. It's louder. It's speak louder. Speak life harder. Everything has to be 100% because we are people who can give 100% into what we creatively aspire to. And that's the gift we're missing. That is the missing piece of that puzzle, is that we have to encourage ourselves to be ourselves and don't shame the next one for expressing themselves how they do. I know, but yeah, I'll just end that there.
Okay, so you did raise a lot of good points. I was definitely listening in, and I do like how you did tie in a lot of things together, like bring it back to Haiti. That's the reason why That's the reason why people look down upon Haiti, and why Haitians themselves look down upon themselves, and then why all these other Africans don't actually ride for Haiti, because nobody rides for Haiti. We can sit there and say, okay, France, England, Britain have all abandoned Haiti, but we've abandoned our brothers and sisters as well. And that goes really, really deep into this whole, let's just be like them. Like, let's remove our cultures. Our cultures aren't that important because we have to assimilate into whatever they want, whether it's on the continent or off the continent. And tying it back to what you said about continental Africans, especially the continental Africans when they come over here, that's why I honestly feel like some of them are the worst, because they're living in this dichotomy where they have to reject everything that's African in order to move up over here. And in doing that, they tend to lose themselves. It's not good. It isn't conducive, and it doesn't help us as a people. You know, just recently they were saying that, and I know you guys saw this, it's on the African Diaspora channel, a Nigerian is basically saying, hey, let's get rid of Black history because everybody has a history. So if we get rid of Black history, we'll all be able to create a new American identity. And I'm like, what's the point of creating a new American identity? There's no such thing. That's why Black Americans, African Americans are called African Americans. And American is a white American. There's already, like, you can't just tell everybody, okay, forget your culture, forget your identity, and we'll all just be American. That's a disaster if that actually happens. If everybody gets rid of everything that's unique, everything that makes them who they are, everything that contributes to their history, that's going to be a mess. Because then in you calling yourself an American and someone else calling themselves an American, that means you all have to act the same way. You all have to do the same thing. You all have to eat the same foods, listen to the same music, and only one thing will be accepted. Well, it is kind of like that right now, but I mean, if people actually play into that and completely erase everything, then isn't that giving the dominant society even more power? That's kind of, yeah, no, that's not good at all. You know, we shouldn't be doing that at all. And shout outs to everybody who came in. Someone just asked, what do I mean when I'm saying Africa is poor? I'm actually saying Africa is not that poor. I'm saying Africa is not as poor as you subscribe it to be. People are talking about, oh, well, the infrastructure is bad. They're working on it. What more do you want me to say? It's being worked on. Like, Africa is changing. You can't deny that Africa is not changing. Africa is getting its act together. You know, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Everything that we do has to be bad. Everything we do doesn't have to be good enough. I feel like not a lot of people cut Africa and the Caribbean a little bit of slack. Like, they always speak of it in a very critical perspective without actually understanding why those systems are there. This is not the live stream where I talk about accountability, because I do that all the time. Like, I'm very critical of Africa and of African presidents and the corruption there all the time. So I think I'm doing myself a favor when I say here and I say I'm actually very proud of Africa, despite of everything that they've been through, despite of everything that has been done to them. Same thing with Haiti. I'm very proud of Africa and Haiti. Can things improve? Obviously, I talk about the things that need to be improved all the time, and I won't stop. But above all of that, Africa is moving forward. It just is. The same Africa that was here in the 60s, 70s, it's not that Africa anymore. And if you can't see that, I kind of feel bad for you, but Africa is improving. It is. There's a railroad system that's being built every day. Schools are good. In Ghana, high school is free. That's something new. Back in the days, if you wanted to go to school in Ghana, you had to pay. Now it's free. Like, things are changing, not to the magnitude and to the degree that I personally wish it would, but it doesn't mean that things aren't changing. And that's what we want. We want change. We want things to move forward, you know? So when I say, is Africa all that poor? I think a lot of people just look at the bank account. It's like, oh, does that person have money? But they don't actually understand what does it even mean to be rich, type of thing. So do you mean rich as in you have like $5,000, or do you mean rich as in you own your own property, or do you mean rich as in you don't have any debt? It's very subjective. But if you're talking about infrastructure, yeah, you're right. Infrastructure needs work and it's being worked on. But are you then saying that are the people okay? Because for the most part, a lot of Africans are actually doing very well. The business people in Africa make way more money than the business people over here do. The houses in Africa, there's no such thing as a mortgage. It's either yours or not. So I don't like, what do you mean is Africa poor? Like, what are you talking about? Because like I said, I don't deny that Africa has its issues, but the Africa of 20 years ago is not the Africa of 2021. I hope you understand that in a span of 20, 30 years, things could change. If you're in your 20s, you've changed. If you're in your 30s, you've changed. So you don't think that in that span, Africa has changed? I think that's not giving Africa enough credit.
Okay, so
And yes, I know I don't normally praise Africa. It's not that I don't care about Africa. That's not my style, but I still can't deny that things aren't getting better. I honestly can't. You know, a whole bunch of African countries used to get loans from the West. They don't get loans anymore. I'm happy. That's something.
I
Did
think
you have anything to add to that?
yeah, I did. It's actually with this the statement you started on with this
Nope.
this
Okay.
call.
I guess I'm just gonna check some of these comments.
Oh, can you hear me? Oh, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello? Oh, let me try and re-enter.
Hello? Okay. Yes, they own their assets with very, very low liabilities. You can't do that over here. Bro, I'm not able to hear you. Okay, now I can hear you. We look at healthcare, infrastructure, education. Okay, education is pretty good in Africa. Healthcare is not. Infrastructure, it depends. You need not to explain. Yeah, because like honestly, people are using metrics that the rest of the world is using, and it's kind of annoying when you think about it. Because even when we're talking about Africa needs to develop, right? Africa is developing. Africa needs to develop. It's developing. One second. Are you here? Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? What's going on?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I'm just gonna continue because I don't know what's going on. But
Hello?
basically what I was saying was that the face of Africa is changing and that wealth is being handled very, very differently now. You know, wealth is no longer in the elite is getting smaller, but the middle class is actually growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how you grow an economy. You know, the people don't actually understand that a lot of these countries 5, 10 years ago that they were poor, 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 poor. They're moving up in their GDP. Like, they're actually improving their situations every single day. Things are getting better. Corruption is still there, but corruption is here too. Same people talking about corruption's not in the US. Corruption's in the US. Okay, but if corruption is over there and they're still able to make projects, they're still able to develop certain projects, that should be something that people are happy about. If your country owes money, right, but most of your country, the people in your country aren't in debt, that's something that you should be happy about. It's better than other situations around the world. It's better than what's going to happen over here for sure. But, you know, you're going to have people that are going to sit here and say, oh, no, Africa's an ish hole. Africa's a dump. Cool. You can say that. I promise you in 10 years when things change and when you can't afford land over there, I promise you all of us are going to be laughing. I promise you. Because people are talking about healthcare, but the average African is healthier than the person over here. So yes, healthcare is an issue. Don't get me wrong. But you don't think African countries are going to start finding ways to subsidize their healthcare? They already have an advantage. So I don't know. I think that we really need to start understanding these things and really start analyzing what's going on in the world, you know, because they're doing good. They're not complaining. They're doing fine. All they're talking about is corruption over there, but everything else is pretty good. The violence in Africa has stopped for the most part. If we have 55 countries, right, and let's say only maybe 5 countries are going through something, then that's progress to me. I don't know about you, but that's progress to me. Post-slavery back countries were left with underdeveloped middle class that survive off treachery and justify the existence of the richer races and poverty. Yeah, okay. Brazil is a country that when I look at Brazil, it makes me sad, to be honest. Brazil makes me sad because Brazil apparently has a really good economy. And I'm not going to lie, Brazil has money. But if you look at the people of Brazil, they said that like 60% of people in Brazil are Black, right? But who owns these industries and who's making money in Brazil? It's not us. But they'll use Brazil as the standard. So that's why when I see a country like Nigeria, at least most of those people who are making money are Black. I'd rather have that than have a Brazil where basically the culture of Brazil, the only reason why the culture of Brazil is interesting is because of the Africans who were over there and made that culture interesting. Like, you know, how Brazil dance to samba, how Brazilians have these festivals, how Brazilians do this and that. All of that is influenced by the Africans who went through to Brazil, right? But the descendants of those Africans in Brazil today don't own much. So that's why when I look at certain African countries or I look at certain Caribbean countries, I'm at least happy that most of that money is going towards the majority of the people, as opposed to some of these other countries where you have a whole bunch of Black people, but they're not in power. So it's like, what's the point in that? At least that's just what I think personally about Brazil. Yeah, sure. Go ahead and hold on. Let me refresh my end. Let me refresh my page, and then you could go ahead and click the link again So give me 1 second. I'm going to refresh this. Okay, go ahead and try clicking the link once more. And then I guess after you finish saying what you're saying, we're just going to close out. I would rather have a rich Black upper class too, instead of all Blacks being an underclass. Exactly. And again, I'm not trying to diss Brazilians. If you're from Brazil, I have nothing against you, but I'm just saying, if you look at what's going on in Brazil, they're basically suffering everything. They're suffering from everything. They're suffering from police brutality. They're suffering from the lower class being people who look like us. The rich class are the descendants of the slave owners. And I'm just like, so if people are saying, well, that's a rich country, but 60% of your population is not doing well, then is that even rich? I don't know. I have no idea. Well, I'm gearing towards more of, I don't think so.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, because you should have seen me on this end. I was literally screaming like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" Then when I got off the stream, Gay was like, "I could hear you," and I was just like, "Oh, it must be African millennials." But it's all good. It's all good. But I think I'd actually rather, unless you want to go back to what you were discussing about the Nigerian guy in the US, do you want to go back there or no? I mean, I'm pretty fine with just sitting back and letting you move on.
What was I talking about?
Oh, the Nigerian guy that had went
the Nigerian guy who said that I think he's running for governor or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put that link in the description or the link in the chat, but I think he's running for some type of government or governor position, state governor, I believe. And he's saying it's a good idea to get rid of Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's saying, well, this whole people of color thing, everybody has a history. It's not only Black people. Irish people have a history. Jewish people have a history. Indian people, obviously everybody has a history. So he's just saying, so what's the point of putting Black history out there? Because now we're alienating Black people from everyone else. And we're alienating Black people from American society. And I'm just sitting here like, first and foremost, and not to be disrespectful, but this doesn't help the ADOS movement. You're Nigerian.
Yeah, I think
Nigerian descent. If anyone wants to move African American, what is it called? Black History Month. I don't think you should be talking about that in the first place, but I don't think anybody should be removing Black History Month. That's something that they're going to have to deal with themselves. They seem to like Black History Month, so keep it. What I would say, though, is I think what African Americans should do is make sure that they're more in charge of their Black History Month, because I was told that their Black History Month is pretty watered down. So I feel like, okay, if you want to keep Black History Month, just make sure that it's more authentic. That's it. But to say, oh, we need to remove it,
I think my contribution to that was going to be, it was just interesting that you had raised that point. I'd actually seen another Black American brother discuss it on his YouTube. It's called Touring Reigns Reloaded. I'm getting it muddled up. I could drop the link later. But anyway, my point is to say that it was just interesting because as he was talking about it, he was saying that it's just interesting that the first time a lot of us are hearing about this running for governor Nigerian American is when he's trying to erase the African Americans. I just thought that was a really salient point to discuss, because I know St. James said that he's embarrassing us or something, but then Bo had said that something about privileged Africans or something. I think that could be the nuance. I'm not gonna quote what Bo said in particular, but I like what he, even though it's tangibly related, but I like what he said about privileged. I think this really illuminates on how detrimental some privileged people can be, because they can really get out here and be detached and show how detached they are from the rest of the populace or the rest of the cluster they come from. And it shows how when they operate from a place of privilege, or when you operate from a place of not knowing your environment, you can really sabotage other black communities. So I just thought that was really interesting that you brought that up, because I'm like, we always talk about how people are we were just talking about how people are shamed, and here you come, this person, this Nigerian American, he just came along and he just literally chose it upon himself to feel like he could erase a month. I would even love if that community of like ADOS, Black Americans, and whatever they subscribe to, it would be even greater if they could even champion for 3 months of Black History Month. That would be the best thing, because I feel like the confinement of your achievements to just 1 month, the shortest month of the year, it doesn't do it justice. And I feel like this is a time to assert your value, or how much you value your culture or your past cultural achievements, because they say that when you don't know your past, you don't know the direction you're going to head in future. And I feel like that's the sort of threat that this type of erasure poses, is that it can really cause like a really detrimental paradigm shift towards even more dissension in their community. I won't speak for them, but this is just me saying that it's those type of things, it's those type of opportunities when you get pushed back, you push back 3 times harder. You say, I don't even want February, I want the longest months you've got. Give me December, give me January, give me I think maybe any other 31 day months, give me those ones, okay? Because this PC Trojan horse, this discourse you got going on, it's not gonna do. It's actually showing how much of a threat that those terms pose. So give us the 3 months, give us the 4 months, then eventually we can even expand it across the curriculum. Of course, I think if an American could come here and expound upon what exactly is in the curriculum, that could even take the discussion even further. Because
I can assure you that the Black History, even though I'm not American, I could assure you that the Black History Month that they probably teach in schools it's watered down. Like, it's not the real Black History Month.
That's what I was astounded.
Oh yeah, Christopher Columbus helped all Aboriginals. You know, they only talk about probably for Black History Month, probably the people who were more, okay, let's get together, let's hold hands type of people. But they didn't talk about the radical extremist Black people that were like, no, we want to be separated and we want our lives to be heard. They're not going to talk about those leaders. They're going to talk about kind of the wishy-washy leaders. And that's also very detrimental and dangerous. Because then we sit there and we wonder, why is everybody trying to hold hands and do this whole unity thing with other races? That's probably because you're teaching them in their Black History Month that all of their leaders were like that.
Thank you. I think that's why it's so important that it would be really nice if because I just feel like with your knowledge of that, and with an actual American who could speak about how much it impacts them as a Black American or something, it could really help educate us on how much we could do to help, because this is actually a chance for us. I feel like even with this erasure discussion, or with this shame-based discussion of how some of us feel shamed out of our culture, some people are getting theirs erased, that's a real bridging point. And I feel like we can't lose the opportunity to bridge a gap, because it allows us to conversate more. Quite often, the people of privilege who aspire or get positions in government and feel like they can be the vocal point for people, they're the ones that seem detached, and they're the ones that people use as a representation for how we feel about other respective Black communities. Whereas, as you guys can see, I think everyone can quite clearly see that a lot of us here who are partaking in this discussion, we're so willing to, find a better way to talk to our brothers and sisters. We're quite willing to learn. We're quite willing to, right our wrongs, and we're willing to be corrected. Like a lot of people, let's say with ADOS in particular, like let's say if I was confused about something, there'd be someone right in the comments who could perhaps further educate me. So I think that's just to say that although there's representation on both or 4 sides of the coin, to say that one doesn't listen to the other, there are discussions like these where we show that we are willing to listen, and we'd actually invite everyone to, give their perspective, so that we don't go around offending anyone when it really isn't necessary. Quite a simple bit of dialogue could really heal a lot of ill wound.
Absolutely. And that's what we need to do going forward, because that's the problem that a lot of us have. Again, when people say things about, oh, culture is, I've heard said this before. People say things like culture is overrated. It's not that important. And I'm like, well, if you don't have one, and if you don't even know what your culture is, you're going to adapt someone else's and think that's your culture. And that's problematic. And we're starting to see a lot of that. Like, I see that a lot with second generation Africans. And it's not bad per se, but it's like this rejection of your history, rejection of who you are, rejection of your roots. And then you don't realize that when you do that, as we mentioned before with this Nigerian guy example, you can be used as a tool to do something detrimental to your community. You don't even realize it, because you aren't engulfed in the knowledge of your culture or the culture of your brother or sister. So we need to do a better job in showcasing our cultures. Yeah, we live in countries where, the dominant society tells everybody what they have to do. But then if you just go ahead and do it, then they just won, basically. They just won. Because now you're kind of confused, because you're protecting something that isn't yours. You're protecting something that could possibly be used against you in the future. So I'm all for advocating for whatever your culture is, even if your culture is the way that you speak, even if your culture is the way that you eat. Cling on to a little bit of that at least. Give your children the chance to learn that at least. People have to do a better job, because this is why some of us feel ashamed of displaying our cultures, because we're kind of afraid of the backlash of people asking us why. But if more of us did it, I don't think there would be such a backlash. There would be such a reluctance. There would be such a type of like this embarrassment culture type of thing.
I think even there's something, actually, no, I actually want to go off a comment that GK made. I actually want to read it out. I don't know if I'm going to get 100% of what that person was saying, but there's just something I liked. That's what they want to limit us to, and black folk are limited in our minds. We are stuck in ways of continuing to revert to the same shit, old methods. What I liked about that is because it's because when you're trying to conquer minds, you can't really alter time. But what you can do to your subjects is that you can alter the perception of time, and you can really to change what time means to people. I think I'll discuss as an African how I feel about, let's say, the way some Africans are taught is that they tend to impose a cyclical curriculum which locks people in a docile temperament or a docile pathology. And it's not only that they teach you material that is of a docile nature, but it's like they lock you in a period of when you want your best. And I think when they can affect how you see time, they're going to affect everything you see. And I think even with regards to like the Black History Month, or even how Black culture and Black historical culture is perpetuated in the States, is that if they limit it to a month, that visual representation, locking you within the shortest time of the year, what it does is that it tells people implicitly, it tells the children that your contributions don't matter. And it's like they're very, very selective over the icons they choose to teach in,
Exactly.
Black History Month.
Shout out to Uncle Donnie, but he was saying it was Rosa Parks, it was MLK, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was it? Well, someone else who was kind of docile, let's say more docile.
Yeah, and I think what they're doing, and do you know what the funny thing is that they don't explore the nuances of those historical characters. Is that they want to refrain from showing MLK in the light of when he was talking about economic empowerment. And I think do you see what I mean? Goes back to the perception of time comment. They'll only show Martin Luther King within a specific set of time that supports their agenda. So they're literally affecting your perception of time. They're distorting the historical narrative to suit a particular agenda. And it's funny that even with the Christianity thing, I find it so funny that people always latch on like a parasitic leech to the notion of forgiveness. But I want to know where in the Bible that the creator sanctioned that you're just meant to take beatings for like the next 5 years. And this is no disrespect, but it's just to say that I think, because I'm not saying I'm for anything or against, but it's just funny how people always want to latch on to like the very, very peaceful messages of the doctrines they believe in, but rarely do they want to apply the ones where the creators literally like to the Israelites, go and destroy this set of people. It's just very interesting. And I feel like when you lock people in a docile line of discourse, it's just very, very interesting to look back on it from a critical perspective. And this is why I really like Julius Malema, because I don't always agree with what Julius Malema does, but I feel like his rhetoric or his type of demeanor, it's more in line with how we should be feeling as a people. You should be frustrated that you're being oppressed. You should be willing to fight for it. You should be willing to look a fool if it gets you your change. And I noticed that that's what a lot of white people, or a lot of I will say the dominant society, at least on this end, that's a lot of what they latch onto when they describe Julius Malema. They're like, look at this lunatic. I'm like, yeah, but we shouldn't be caring how anyone else thinks of us. We should fight for it regardless, because really and truly, we're never going to be in a palatable form for you to ever give us our freedom. So we got nothing to lose by applying or appealing to a more, a more angry state. We really and truly should be frustrated of being treated like nothing when we were the first people to roam the earth, where we've accomplished so much, we've contributed so much. We should want to appeal to temperaments that accurately show how frustrated we are, because if we can't represent that in our fight for our struggle, naturally we're going to transfer that frustration to other parts of our life. We're going to translate into how we rear our kids, how we interact with our spouses, our attitudes towards society. And I just think it's interesting. I feel like the curriculum definitely has to be changed, but I don't think it has to be radically changed. I feel like they should be showing different time zones of when these historical figures were actually going to make change. So perhaps the curriculum ought to also include when Martin Luther King was saying, this is a sinking ship. This is a sinking ship. That's it.
No, well, I would say for that, in order for that to happen, I'm pretty sure Black people are going to have to do that, because white people aren't thinking about that. They're not thinking about changing Black History Month. They're not thinking about, let's actually do research. And I honestly think that, unfortunately, so long as people go to school under their curriculum, did he drop off? I guess so. Okay. Well, so long as people go to school under their curriculum, that's going to be their choice. Like, white people aren't going to care about changing Black History Month or about how they teach it. That's going to have to be Black people's responsibility, or that's going to have to be Black people's responsibility to apply more pressure for that to change, because they're not just going to sit and think about that. Do you honestly think they think about that? They don't think about that. So that's what I want to say about that. But yeah, just to answer this comment, I tend to notice particular East, South, and Central Africans tend to be the most docile compared to the West. It could be the educational programs there. I don't think that East Africans are more docile. You can ask Mr. Uganda that. I've noticed East Africans, they're more quiet. South Africans are not docile. South Africans are not docile at all. Central Africans, I think it's just that West Africans tend to dominate. If you're talking about the diaspora, West Africans dominate a lot of things. So they just feel more confident and they feel more comfortable. But I don't really think it's a cultural thing, to be quite honest. Oh, okay. Bye. See you tomorrow. But yeah, and about the whole forgiveness thing, I think the reason why a lot of Christians do that is because Jesus said what you're supposed to forgive 70 times 7. So I think that's why a lot of, especially Black people, hold on to that whole forgiveness thing, because Black people are naturally very cultural. So if the leader of your book said that if someone does something to you, you should forgive them because, why did he say that again? Oh, he said you should forgive them or something because, I don't know, in heaven they'll be dealt with, type of thing. So I feel like that's the reason why Black people are very forgiving, period. But I don't even know what the context of that even means. So please don't ask me because I don't even know what that means to forgive. Does that mean that you let it go in your heart? I don't know what that means. I have no idea. Then someone could turn around though and say that the issues that Black people have been going through, they're still going through it. So how can they forgive when there has been no ratification? How can they forgive when they're still in the same type of positions that they've been? So I don't even know about that whole, should Black people forgive? How do they forgive, or can they forgive? I'll be honest with you, I don't know. But what I will say is, I don't really subscribe to that whole, okay, well, just forgive and move on type of thing. I'm not really that type of person, because I just feel like that's kind of a weakness. Even if you do forgive, you shouldn't show your enemy that you've forgiven them. That's the dumbest thing you could do, to be quite honest. So I don't know, but what's up? How are you?
I'm good.
Cool.
How are you doing?
Not bad.
Shoot, you look impeccable.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, but you always do. But yeah, so I wanted to jump on and talk about the forgiveness thing. They be taking that out of context. That's not that wasn't to just everybody. It wasn't okay, we'll just let anybody do whatever they want to you, however they want. That's not the Bible doesn't ever speak of that. It tells you not to chase after revenge. It tells you not to go after always fighting. It tells you to be focused on building and getting yourself together and helping others get themselves together over you worrying about, tick for tack. And the thing about forgiveness, 7 times 70 was actually to your brother. It wasn't to your enemy. And culturally, if you go back in the history of the type of people and the people he was talking to at the time, when he says turning the other cheek is a thing of forgiveness, but it's also a thing of not letting the person, it's a mental strength. It's saying that because if you listen to the whole, you read the whole thing. I say listen because most people don't read; they just play the audio. But anyways, so if you if you read the whole thing, it says it's talking about somebody who has power over you, somebody who's control, who has power over you, and if they think that they're winning by, being a bully, you let them, you know, do what they do, and don't let it bother you. That's what it was about. And the turn the other cheek is also about, it's actually not just forgiveness. It's forgiving them because they're stupid, but it's also more of a dare as well. It's like, okay, I forgive you because you're stupid. I'm gonna overlook you. You're stupid. It's like a child hitting you. You're like, okay, don't hit me again now. You know what I'm saying? But you turn the other cheek, like, okay, you hit me on one side. I'm gonna turn my other cheek, but yeah, that don't mean be dumb enough to hit it. It's the kind of thing where you have to understand the context of all the scriptures, and people just try to pick pieces out and make it how they want to.
Okay, let me ask you a question. How are you going to respond to this comment? White people read the exact same Bible. They are doing fine. Why do we make excuses for ourselves? It's our own problem that we didn't create something better.
White people changed the Bible to make Jesus white. That's pretty much the only thing that they mostly like. They changed a little stuff, but mostly that was the only thing. And they didn't really change the Bible. They changed the depiction of, I mean, those a bunch of people. If you look at the Last Supper picture, if you know the historical fact of that, that's a bunch of drunks and people from the jail, his homeboys. So that wasn't even a real depiction of Jesus. Just like Cleopatra is not white, obviously. So if you look at all those things, white people really don't care what it says. They just do whatever they want.
Exactly.
So they'll say, and we start taking on those Caucasian characteristics where we don't believe in what we actually say. We just do whatever we want. Oh, well, I'm a good person, but I'm stealing out your purse. Oh, well, you're my best friend, but I'm sleeping with your husband. Oh, well, I'm loyal to you, but, every time I get a chance, I'm doing something dirty behind your back. That was Caucasian aspects because they're snow people. They ice people. So they are into trickery and things of that nature, which the Bible speaks directly against.
Okay, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I honestly think that human nature is not good. I just think that
Facts.
inherently we're bad and that it's okay. So the Bible and all of these other books and ways of life, whatever that we're supposed to do as human beings, it's good, but do people really follow that stuff? I would argue that a lot of people don't follow these things and that they pretend to follow it. So if
That was kind of my point.
the case, then yeah, right. So if that's the case, then it's like you're forcing people to follow something that they don't want to believe in.
Well, most people are lazy, and the Bible tells you you got to do work. Most people, are greedy, and it speaks exactly against that. So most people want to seem good, but never do anything good. So that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah. The only good person I know is my grandmother. But then again, that's my grandmother of today.
Facts,
I don't know what
facts.
she was doing in the 1920s. I have no proof. But she goes to church all the time.
Hey, shoot, some of the best people is in church. I'll put it that way. You can take that either way, good or bad.
Black people don't listen. Oh, Black people don't read the Bible. They listen to preachers. Exactly. That's the problem. And then they
Yeah.
give these preachers when these preachers act out for whatever reason. I've always said this. Every church that I've been to, I've never had a preacher that did something bad, like really, really bad, that was public. But if I did, I wouldn't still go to that church. But Black people are the first one to say, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Like, this man cheated on his wife for the third time. Everybody makes mistakes. Oh, he was in the back with some boys. The preacher was in the back with some boys. Oh, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. The devil came over him. And I'm sitting here like, what?
So he was in the back with the devil and the little boys?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to figure that part out.
But if he wasn't a preacher, they wouldn't say that, right?
People make excuses when they want to. Like, I'm not big on making excuses. Like, I don't believe in that. Like, I used to do a bunch of bad stuff I don't do anymore. I ain't always been, striving for holiness. I just put it that way. I'm
Well,
not saying I was for the streets, but I mean, I'll say I was at least for the parking lot. You feel me?
white people don't read the Bible either. That's not just black people. Who do you think is really gonna read that? Did you? Okay, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna lie. The Bible's kind of a big text to read. I'm not even gonna sit here in front like it's a huge book. But
Come on
people,
now, y'all read Game of Thrones and Harry Potter. Y'all can read the Bible.
because no, okay, now this sounds kind of bad, but the Bible's a little boring.
Cause you're reading it wrong.
The
The
Bible's
Bible has everything in it. It has everything that you would want in a movie in it.
no, oh no, I know like Psalms. I don't understand Psalms. I don't understand
Psalms are just songs. They're just songs. If you look at it as a song, then you'll realize, like, okay, these are just songs that are talking about life. I'm just talking about life in a song way. That's what Psalms are. It's poetry.
So why is the New Testament more interesting than the Old? No, sorry. Why is the Old Testament more interesting than the New Testament?
Because the Old Testament only talks like a handful of parts where it's blatantly telling you, no, you can't do this. You know what I'm saying? It's only like a few books that are like, no, no, no. But everybody, all the other scriptures in the New Testament are more like telling you like what happened, you know. So
All right, I think yeah. Unless anyone has anything else to add or anything else to say, I think we're kind of done with this convo. Yeah, I think we're just kind of done with this convo. I don't know what else to say.
that's what's up. That's what's up. But I was just making sure you saw my messages, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be putting myself out there for no reason.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Okay. And I keep telling you, I sent all them cows and chickens, you know what I'm saying, DHL, but it was like it wasn't enough postage, you know what I'm saying? You refused it. I was like, what you mean? You gave me the wrong address, or what's up with it?
You get backed up because of COVID. So yeah.
Oh, I ain't mean to send no COVID chickens. My bad, my bad. Throw them away, throw them away. I think a little jerk sauce will get that COVID out of there though. A little jerk sauce to get the COVID out.
True that, true that. Oh, wait, this is an interesting comment. People would be less likely to sin if they spent more time worrying about the creator than the opinions of others.
That's facts. That's most definitely.
Well, yeah, I guess and that goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like people are so worried about looking good in front of everybody else. In as much as I'm not gonna lie, I have a very judgmental personality. I don't say it out loud, but if I see some people doing certain things because I don't do it, I look at them like, but at least they're living their life. At least they're not being fake. You know what I'm saying? Like
I feel you, but we
like
all
Cardi B,
judge.
you know
We
what her
all
life
judge.
is about, right?
Judgmental means one who uses judgment. Like when you put on that shirt, I don't know what judgment you supposed to be. What are you doing distracting us? We supposed to be listening to you talk, but you distracting us looking like that. I'm just saying, like that was bad judgment there. Cause I'm supposed to be trying to be holy and not looking at you. And anyway, we'll skip past that. But yeah, we all judge. When you say something's good or bad, that's judgment. When you say something is sweet or tart or nasty, that's judgment. So I don't know where people get that we ain't supposed to judge. That's never in the Bible. It's talking about hypocrites. Don't judge as a hypocrite.
No, but okay, so Christians aren't supposed to judge?
You are. It tells you a man of God judges everything. People lie. It says judge not, comma. That's a comma. That means a pause. Take a breath. Think about that. Judge not, for what you judge with will be judged back to you. So it said, and it literally says, don't try to get the mote out of somebody else's eye when you have a beam in yours. That's what it's saying. Don't be a hypocrite. Worry about handling your stuff first, and then worry about trying to help somebody else with theirs.
Good point. St. James, what exactly do you mean? Just type in the comments what you mean, because I agree with you. And for everyone who missed the live, we did talk about Haiti, the very first part of this live. Yeah, I really care about Haiti. I know I don't really show it, but I wish the best for nothing but Haiti, because Haiti has gone through a lot, and I just feel so bad for Haiti. Like, guys, Haiti is not doing well financially at all. I can't even sugarcoat it. They're doing really bad. It's not good. But I guess, Haiti was designed to be that way, unfortunately. Okay, I got you. The issue with many churchgoers and Bible thumpers is that they shame others for how they live their life. If King Solomon let all they were saying against him. Oh, I see what you're saying. But I agree with you. I feel like the thing that ruins it for some people is the extremists, like the extremists. Like, you have some people, even in the Christian sector, that women can't wear earrings, they can't wear makeup, they can't do all of this. And we're honestly thinking, what does this have to do with the word? Like, I get that you don't want to be vain. I kind of get that, but
it's deep. It's a little deeper than that. I read the Bible and I study the Bible, so I kind of live by the Bible. So if you really want to have that conversation, that's a longer conversation, you know what I'm saying? I could throw a Bible study class on my channel if you would like, and we could talk about that.
That would be good. But what I wanted to say, though, even with this whole Bible thing, like, there are different versions of the Bible, right? And different versions use different words. And different words have different contexts. So that kind of makes it sometimes a little confusing, because technically that means everybody can have their own version. Not really their own version, but everyone has their own version that they believe in or that they understand better than another. But then you call someone else wrong because they're not going with your version. I think that kind of it creates more conflict than there should be in the Christian community, and even the Christian to non-Christian community.
Well, people make whatever they want. Like, they're like, oh, well, I love the Bible except for I love hoeing, so we're going to take all the hoeing out of the Bible and I'm going to make my new version. So now I got a Rick James version, because Rick James said, pimping ain't easy. So we're going to leave all the hoeing bad talk out of that, and we're just going to say, okay, well, everything else is bad. And that's usually what it comes from. If you go back to the earlier versions of the Bible, everything that was bad.
Yeah, pretty much.
So.
Because technically, like, okay, if you look at it, we're not supposed to make sacrifices anymore, right? Because Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice, but people make sacrifices now. So is that wrong?
It depends on what you mean as a sacrifice. If you mean fasting, then you're sacrificing something that's different than the regular sacrifice. And you're not supposed to use anything that will sacrifice to another god. So, people don't like when I say it, but weave is sacrificed to gods. So when you wear weave, you're using something that's sacrificed to another god. So
why did you use that example?
I'm just using that as an example because people don't like it. I'm just saying, it's facts though. It's facts.
Okay, so how about alcohol? What are your thoughts on alcohol?
The Bible tells you not to be a wine bibber. People's like, oh, well, Jesus turned water into wine, but that was not fermented wine. That was pretty much, old grape juice. So it wasn't fermented wine. It wasn't definitely strong drink, because it tells you a man of God don't drink strong drink, period. So people try to take it and twist it how they want to, because they want to still get their sip on. That Uncle Nearest, or be calling them. So they want to deal with those spirits. If you think about it, as a bartender, they call it spirits.
Right, that's why I don't do that stuff, because I'm like, I don't know what spirit you're talking about. I don't need that in me.
That part.
I do not want a spirit. Hold your liquor. I'm no offense to people who drink, but I don't know what type of world you need to get into, what other dimension. And when people actually drink to the point where they become someone else and they start dancing and doing weird things, I'm like, yeah, something is taking over you. But you know what? Not
if you study witchcraft, that's what you do. So I mean, that's what you do: is you get drunk, you get high, and you dance around half naked. That's what it is.
Okay, wait, hold on. But again, I don't know. But did the Bible say anything about smoking?
Yeah, but that takes a.
It did?
It's not. Yeah, it's not only just smoking. It's anything that impairs you and take you out of your normal.
Wow,
It's like when you go and you eat too much sugar. Don't you act a little different when you got a bunch of caffeine or sugar in you? You might act a little different. So it's anything that'll impair you. Nah, Donnie goes in. Wine is not wine. Trust me, because I'm trying to tell you, rice wine is something different.
So there's only
That
certain
warm
wine that you could drink?
Like that warm sake is not that wine you get from Walmart. So you can't say wine is just wine. I'm just saying.
Well, interesting. I love how this topic just changed though. Icon Fire, what's up?
Can I hop in?
Yeah.
Yeah, the brother, I appreciate your knowledge. Feel me? But and I'm not I'm not a total Bible reader. I am never gonna say I read the Bible. Feel me? All of it and all that stuff. Feel me? But I'm just saying, isn't it a book of metaphors though? Where a lot of things don't mean what it says really.
Certain books of the Bible are like that. Certain books are metaphors, some are double entendres, where it means exactly what it means, but it's also a metaphor for something else. Like teaching a man to fish. Even though that's not in the Bible, but still, people think it is. Just like they think cleanliness next to godliness is in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? They think a whole bunch of stuff in the Bible that's not really in there. But yeah, a lot of that's why I say you have to read it in context. Some things are poems, some things are metaphors, some are, historical lineages and things like that, and some are just letters.
Thank you. Let me ask. I'm gonna ask you a little question though. Where does Ra comes in the Bible? Do you think Ra has any significance in the Bible?
Well, all the gods of Egypt is talked about in the Bible.
But can you point out Ra?
Yeah, but that's going to take longer than the time we have here.
No, it's just one word. I personally can just like point out Ra in the Bible. So, all right. You could oppose me if you wanna. Christ is Ra. See, he never existed. But
no, I disagree with that.
All right, listen. See, Christ.
It's funny that you say Christ is Ra, but you said yourself you never really read the Bible.
No,
and you're not a Bible reader. That's like you telling me about Kung Fu, and I've studied martial arts my whole life.
All right, listen. All of us grew up in Christianity, so there's nobody that don't know some parts of the Bible. You understand?
knowing
you
some
understand?
parts and actually know it. That's like you saying you know karate because you watch the Karate Kid.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you see black people. I mean, it, everybody know not every black person is stupid. You feel me? So
But not being
we
stupid has
are
nothing to do with
we
you
do
actually
our
knowing the
own
topic.
analysis.
Because you have a
All
cell
right.
phone don't mean you know how to make a
So
cell
you
phone company.
so my boss, you oppose that view that um Christ is raw.
Oh my God.
Do you
Yes,
oppose the
I
view?
oppose the view that Christ is
Okay.
raw, that
All
the
right.
Christ of the Bible, not the white
Yeah.
Christ they sell you, but
No,
Christ is
no, no.
raw.
I'm talking about the Christ of the Bible.
Okay.
I
Yes,
don't listen.
I
I'm not listen.
oppose that.
The white
What's your next
Christ.
question?
No, so no, but I'm gonna go into detail where I'm seeing that's raw. Because if you check out Egypt, the sun is raw. So in the Bible, right? Who is the light of the world? Christ, right? But what is the light of the world today? Raw. So I'm just saying, and
Actually, sir, you're misconstruing and misunderstanding the Bible. Just like it says, don't let it be a marvel that something of darkness perceives itself to be light. That's the same thing as Satan. He shows himself as to be light or sun. Sun God worship is the worship of Satan, not the worship of Christ.
yeah,
You're
but
talking
the
about
Almighty.
raw, which is wait. We
Mhm.
can't talk at the same time, but we can sing at the same time.
Yes.
So unless we want to sing it, then
Sorry. I'm sorry.
all right, I appreciate you. So
Yeah.
sun God worship is raw worship. So if you want to be specific and you want to jump in there, I wanted to be able to break it down slowly. So everybody, not just you and African millennial, but everybody can keep up with it. But sun God worship is raw worship. So if you want to talk about who is raw, yes, Satan, Beelzebub, anytime they say sun God worship, that's raw. That's raw,
Mhm.
not
Yes, sir.
Christ. That's enmity to
We just
Christ.
Hey
understand.
guys, is there anything that's related to what we're talking about? Again, I'm not trying to be mean or
Yeah.
rude, but I'm completely not. I'm completely divested out of that topic, to be honest, because I just feel
All right.
like you guys are
Yeah. Yeah. Empress.
battling something that no
it's
one
like different views.
common. Yeah.
It's like different views, right? And we all just listening to different views. It's not no indoctrination or nothing. You feel me? No one can indoctrinate me,
Mhm.
and I'm not trying to indoctrinate nobody. But how I do things is really by like, oh, is that logic? Well, if it's logic, that's what I'm going with. If it's facts, that's what I'm going with. Now, if you come to me with fables and you can be objective, you don't have no real point. If you explaining something, you gotta elaborate till God comes and all that stuff. No, you're supposed to can point stuff, say yes or no about stuff, and all that stuff, and or else it's not real. So I'm saying that um there is two virgin birth because and one of them is lying. So I'm not saying it could be the first one. It must be the second virgin birth is the liar. You feel me? So so you have a Set and a Sar and Heru. Don't tell me about no devil when it associates with black people. I think that is a colonized mind speaking that way, like they know stuff, but they don't. You feel me? So when it comes to Egypt and um um Asar, Aset, and Heru, that's 6,000 years ago or more. That's 6,000 years ago or more. Now, who could be the fake? Must be the one 2,000 years ago.
Let me ask you a
You see
question.
me? So hold on, please, sir.
Let me ask you a
So
question. Cause you going on a rant, and I'm
no,
not.
I'm not. I just
Yeah,
speak
you
this
really
way.
are.
I'm
You
not
really
mad
are. You
nor
going
nothing.
on a rant, and she
But go
just
ahead.
said she want to change the subject, and you should respect her panel enough to change the subject when she says that's what she says on her platform. As I said, I'll be doing Bible studies, and if you want to pull up at Cooking with Sir Senior,
Yeah,
Oh,
we
then
I
you can
don't
pull
do.
up the Cooking with
Listen,
Sir Senior. This
I
is
don't do
this
Bible
is
studies. I'm in my
all right then.
I'm in my
So
40s. I'm way
let's change
past
the
that.
subject because that's what she prefers. It's her panel, so we're gonna respect her and her panel, and not your point. We're not. It's not about a dick measuring contest. So
I respect her and I
thank you.
will
I appreciate you.
accept her change of point.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But can I say something else?
If
One
it's
thing.
changing the
One
topic,
thing.
if
No,
it's
it's
changing the
not the
topic,
point. I'm not.
if it
Yes,
if it's
it's
changing the
practically
topic,
changing the. Yes. All right. Listen. You know that when it comes to right and the right thing to do and the right way to go, all our conversations gonna come right back to it. That's all I'm saying. You can go ahead and change the subject. You know.
all right. I have a question to ask you, Gunfire though. What do you think? What do you consider as poor, and what do you consider as rich?
Okay, I consider poor mainly to be a state of mind. Reason why I said that is if you black and you a Christian, then you praising a white man. Therefore, success will be out of your reach. Reason
really,
is,
Jesus is black.
Yeah,
It says it in the Bible, Jesus is black.
can I
Don't do
speak?
that.
Can I speak?
Yo, yeah, but you be doing too
Can I
much.
speak?
That's crazy.
You wanna speak or can I speak?
You can
I it's
speak,
a point.
but don't do that.
It, it's
And
a
she
point.
asked to change the subject. You try
It's
to
a
find
point.
your way
I'm not
back
going. You see,
to
I'm
get your
not
little
changing
points
the
off.
subject. No, I'm not changing the subject. I'm telling you why people poor. Now, come on, man. Let me explain. All right. So, in your efforts as a Christian, knowing that what Christianity is, it's praising white people. So, your energy, your good energy, will be translated to those people or who is close to them. So, your privileges that you have to give will be given to them. So when it comes to being art, so we black, do you know how we look at ourselves? We look at ourselves like another individual, not a brother. We look at ourselves like that person should be poor, and that person could never have privilege from me. So you see, it's not just somebody sleeping all day being lazy. It's not that alone cause somebody to be poor. It's also withholding opportunity from each other. Say I'm lying. Ask yourself, why are we withholding opportunity from each other? Why? Why? Because we don't have no love. Why we don't have no love? Because we praising somebody else, some other race. And it gonna make you poor. Absolutely poor. Sorry to do that. Sorry to rant.
Okay. So you would associate most. So basically, by your logic, most of us are poor. Also because of our state of minds, right? A lot of us are poor today, technically. Okay. I guess there's no response, but I guess that's okay. I see poorness as something completely different. I see it more in the not in the bank account, but in other things like family, stuff like that.
Agree. I agree with you. I agree that, all right, look, I agree that if I go out and see I'll be working hard and one of my brother passing by saw me and be like, yo, what's up? How you doing? Hey, listen, I got this opportunity to give you and I ain't trying to get nothing. I ain't trying to hustle off you nor nothing. I want you to make some money. You feel me? And he hooked me up and I made what more than what I expected and all that stuff, right? So guess what with me now? I'll be like, oh, I have this big opportunity. You feel me? And I go out and look for the highest color red bone person.
Yeah.
Or a white person to get this opportunity. You feel me? All right. Why is it a status for what you call these red people to have television access? You know, it's because the people that's black like my phone right here cannot get that opportunity. And it's not because they're not beautiful, it's because they're too black. So we can't go around and acting like these things are not factors. It's right in our face. It's right in our faces. Happening every day. You feel me? So just go around and look. These people want somebody else to be rich. Our people want some other races to be rich. All right, I'm gonna ask you this. What Donald Trump, he said when white people go to Africa, they come back rich. They leave poor and come back rich. How come the nigga ain't so lucky? You know why? Because the Africans made the white people rich, gave them the opportunities to get rich. And our black people, they hide that shit from them. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do not want. It's a mental thing. Your neighbor don't want you to have your nice car and all that stuff. A lot of rich black people do not want other black people to come up to their level. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. They feel better when some white nigga is right beside them. You feel me? That's how black people, the common black people, you call it 80%. And that's Christianity, 80% of us. You can't separate religion from our success. You can't separate it from our poverty either.
Oh, right. With that being said, though, we're gonna start closing out for real. So, Icon Fire, you can go first, and then Sir, you can go second. With any final closing thoughts?
All we need is love for our color and our hair. We need to structure some type of national oath where everybody gets to say it in every rank, even to the basic. I would prefer, I swear loyalty to the black skin and patriotism to Africa. Thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Okay, my closing statement is always thank you for allowing me to come into your panel and thank everybody for pulling up, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, always, put that notification bell all the way up. and I'm waiting for you to come back with another one. And as always, be blessed, be safe, be certain.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So, Sir has a channel, by the way, so you guys can go ahead and subscribe to him. His name was obviously the name that was on here. Mr. Uganda has a channel. If you guys like his voice, go ahead and subscribe to the dude. Donnie Goes In also has a channel, so you guys can go ahead and subscribe to Donnie Goes In. In the future, I do want to do a show with Donnie Goes In because I want to ask him a lot of questions about, Black love and all of that, because I think we should promote that a little bit more. And who else is here? Bijou Noir was here earlier. So Bijou is going live at 6 o'clock. Let me actually put her link down. Her lives are always pretty fun too. I don't think Omega Courtney was here, but Omega Courtney also has a channel, so you guys could check out that channel as well. Honestly, let me just play the banner. I have like a whole banner that has a whole bunch of my YouTube friends on here. But yeah, with all of that being said, I guess I should close out, right? The final closeout of the whole show. Okay. So the final closeout of the whole show would be that I honestly think poverty is very relative, right? Everybody has a different definition of what's poor and what's not poor. For me, you being poor is you being alone. For me, you being poor is it's you being in debt. I don't know why, but the way that I was raised, being in debt is a very, very bad thing. Like somebody who has $3,000 in their account, for instance, right? But is like $30,000 in debt. I don't consider that person to be wealthy. Seriously. There are a lot of people, for instance, right now that are in a lot of debt. They have credit card debt. They don't own their house. They don't own their car. I don't think that those people are wealthy. I think that someone who has even $50 in their account but doesn't owe a lot of people money, I think that person is actually rich. So that's why I feel like a lot of people who don't live in America or Americas, for instance, I feel like even though maybe they don't have as much money, they have more money. And people over here just think that money is something that is in your bank account. They don't actually think that you could have wealth in different ways. Like, for instance, if you're a healthy person, right, and you're able to walk, you're able to go to the gym, you're able to do like certain activities, you can be rich too, because there's someone else out there who has a whole bunch of health ailments, is not able to provide, is not able to do anything. They have to depend on the government because their body is not healthy. So I honestly think that, I know it's kind of weird, but I don't see wealth as you having a nice car. I see that as extra. I see that like more so as a bonus, but I don't really see you having a nice car as, okay, you're rich, if that makes any sense. So in the terms of, is Africa poor? Then I would say that Africa isn't as poor as a lot of people think, because Africa has a different way of life that a lot of people just don't understand. Like it's a foreign concept, right? Yes, the job situation in Africa is horrible, but again, a lot of Africans are making use of their assets in order to make more jobs, in order to create more jobs. Again, we complain about corruption in Africa, but this corruption in Africa is the reason why a lot of people have money too. So it's very multifaceted. Now, in the case of what we're talking about of Haiti earlier, right? Haiti not getting love, Haiti not getting respect. I think that also ties into what we're talking about. Because Haiti isn't seen or perceived to be a rich nation, because Haiti doesn't have a whole bunch of money in their bank account, people see Haiti as poor. Therefore, They see Haiti as a nation that should be dismissed, a nation that when you raise funds to help them, you could steal those funds and there are no consequences. They see nation as like a dirty island with dirty people, right? That's how they view Haiti. So this whole self-love, this whole pride or whatever, I think it honestly goes beyond what you have in your bank account. And I feel like Haiti's situation can only change when Haitians change how they view themselves and when Black people also change how they view themselves. And if more Black nations could be there to support Haiti when Haiti does need help. You know, for instance, if Haiti right now turns around and says that they're going to do a certain project, who's going to back Haiti up? Why is Nigeria not doing that? Because Nigeria tends to brag a lot. Why is Nigeria not doing that? Why is Ghana not doing that? Why is Jamaica not doing that? That's just what I think personally. I don't know. But yeah, it was really fun talking to you guys on a Friday. I have to go because I have things to do. I need to call this person. I got to email this person. Oh my gosh. Ugh. But anyways, y'all, I really appreciate you guys being here, and I'll see you guys with another video topic. I hope you guys enjoy your Friday, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.